teammate Oscar Piastri, whilst Ferrari's Lewis Hamilton was 5th quickest. Elsewhere, and in the NBA, the New York Knicks have moved to within one win of reaching the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999 after claiming a 121-108 victory over Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 3 of their Eastern Conference Series. The Knicks can now wrap up the series' success with a victory at the Rocket Arena during the early hours of Tuesday morning. No NBA team has ever recovered a 3-0 series deficit in playoff history, so the omens aren't good for the Cavs. New York had a number of star performers in Game 3, including Jalen Brunson, who top scored with 30 points, whilst Mikal Bridges contributed 22 of his own. Finally, in golf, Siwoo Kim will take a 2-shot lead into the final round of the CJ Cup Byron Nelson on Sunday. That's after the South Korean carded a 3-under 68 on Saturday. He was unable to match his heroics from Friday, where he flirted with a sub-60 score, but he still put in a solid showing, and his 2-shot advantage is ahead of Wyndham Clark and world number 1 Scottie Scheffler, who both shot third-round scores of 65. That's all for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sport headlines. I'm Tom McGarry, and we begin with football, as Sunday brings the final day of the Premier League season. All little to play for after missing out on European qualification. Both sides made one change apiece from their last fixtures. Jed Spence comes in for Rolo Kolomuani for Spurs from the defeat at Chelsea in midweek, whilst Tierno Barry replaces Beto up front for Everton. That's from the side that lost to Sunderland. Tottenham must avoid defeat against Everton at home this afternoon if they are to confirm their Premier League status. They could, of course, still survive if West Ham failed to beat Leeds, but Roberto De Zerbi will be determined for his side to get the job done on their own terms. For Everton, they're in mid-table and have very little to play for after missing out on European qualification. Both sides make one change apiece from their last fixtures. Jed Spence comes in for Rolo Kolomuani for Spurs from the defeat at Chelsea in midweek, whilst Tierno Barry... Well, we'll just draw that one to a quick conclusion, because this huge match on the final day of the Premier League season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has just got underway. It is Tottenham who are fighting for their lives to survive in the top flight, playing host to an Everton team who are sitting comfortably in mid-table, although in recent seasons, of course, they have memories of fighting and ultimately surviving themselves on the final days. Myself, Tom McGarry and Tom Wilson, talking you through the full 90 minutes of this match, and of course we'll keep you up to date as the goals go in elsewhere in the Premier League. The final day, of course, all 20 sides in action, particularly will focus on the match that affects the relegation battle between West Ham and Leeds. But Everton have made a very bright start inside the opening 30 seconds or so. Iliman Ndiaye has won a corner down the right hand side, and Kiernan Dewsbury Hall is preparing to take it. James Tarkowski and Michael Keane forward from the back. Dewsbury Hall has gone short, looks infield to James Garner. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall might lift this left-footed towards the far post. Tarkowski, the target, jumps in the air with Jed Spence, and Spurs should be able to clear their lines, but it's all about Spurs really today, isn't it, Tom? They avoid defeat, and barring a mathematical miracle, they will survive. They may survive even if they lose this game if West Ham can't beat Leeds, but really they have to focus on themselves. Yeah, absolutely. It's well within their hands, isn't it? I mean, they need to lose, as you say, and they need West Ham to win. So, there's a couple of things that would put Spurs down. But as long as Spurs don't get beat, they know that they will survive. As for Everton, of course, as you mentioned, not really playing for too much. The European hopes were ended last week with that 3-1 defeat against Sunderland. Instead, the best that they can hope for is a top half finish. It would be their first since 2020, 2021, and it would be a great turnaround really under David Moyes, and a first season at the Hill Dickinson as well. Tell driving forward for Spurs down the left-hand side, finds Conor Gallagher, who's the most advanced Tottenham player momentarily. Just about holds off Eric Boonen, but the Everton midfielder bites back, puts in a good challenge, but then gives the ball away himself to Bentancur. He's brought down by Ndiaye. Tottenham have a free kick in a dangerous position, just left of centre, potentially in a shooting range, but maybe the cross into the box would be the better choice. But it's certainly a good position.
Yeah, it's a very pragmatic starting 11 for Tottenham Hotspur. It looks very defensive on paper, but situations like this will be exactly what they'd be hoping for. You would imagine they would have, I'm sure, prepared for these sorts of positions. As you say, it probably is a shooting range, especially with the sun sort of in the face of Jordan Pickford, such as it is. But a dangerous ball into the area is probably what we expect.
Yeah, smouldering heat this weekend will be adding to the red hot atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We'll run you through the 2-11s after this free kick, which Pedro Porro is going to take for Spurs. So you'd imagine it probably will be a cross into the box from the Spaniard, who stands over the ball now, waiting for referee Michael Oliver to blow his whistle. 3 minutes have gone. Tottenham 0, Everton 0. Porro does stand the ball up towards the far post. It flicks off an Everton head. Tarkowski gets there first and diverts it behind for a corner. Spurs have made one change from the side that lost against Chelsea in midweek. Defensive one, as Tom mentioned, Jed Spence coming in for Randall Kolo Muani. Everton's change is up front, Tiano Barry replacing Beto. Spurs in their 11 after this corner is taken. Some corners this season, Spurs have scored 17. Only Arsenal, Premier League champions, have scored more. Van der Ven, an obvious threat in the middle there. Mattis Tell, right-footed in-swinger, doesn't look like an obvious option to go short, and he does just lift this towards the far post. Richarlison the target, he wins the first ball, knocked down again by Van der Ven, up into the air by the Everton defender rather than out. Keane then gets a touch on the ball and flicks it out of the penalty box, and Njai robs Tell of possession. Tell stayed down. I think he wanted a free kick, and Njai plays on. Referee not interested. Njai's ball forward though a little bit heavy-handed, and Spurs this time do get the decision of the free kick, but half an opportunity from the set piece for Spurs.
Yeah, it was a decent ball in. It was a different one, really. You don't see that sort of ball in from a corner very often. It's usually curled in or curled away. This one's sort of, as you say, lofted, sort of lifted up towards the back post, which Richarlison does really well, rises above everyone else, of course, against his former side today. Richarlison wins the header and then very nearly get caught on the break, don't they? It's really good defending from Udogie. I think he realises that the ball to Dewsbury Hall has to be a little bit overhit so he can run onto it. He reads it really well, comes across and gets in front of the Everton man.
So Spurs is 11 then. Kinski's in goal. Spence, Danso, Van der Ven and Udogie are the back four. Bentancur and Palhinha in front of them, with Porro in a more advanced position than we normally see him, although there'll probably be a bit of interchange between him and Spence. Gallagher and Tell then supported with Richarlison up front, and Gallagher driving forward to the edge of the Everton penalty area, gives it to Spence, who finds himself on the right hand side in an advanced position. Porro behind him will hit a shot with his left foot, not the most convincing. Eric Bunham blocks it away for a throw. Everton have Pickford in goal, O'Brien, Tarkowski, Keane and Mikolenko the back four. Garner and Eric Bunham in the middle of the park roll. Dewsbury Hall and Njai supporting Barry up front. So 4-2-3-1 formations, it would seem, from both sides. No scoreline so far in this game. Deadlock not been broken in any of the other Premier League games as well, although Wolves hit on a penalty away to Burnley in the battle not to finish bottom, and in fact Wolves just scored that spot kick. Spurs again coming forward. Porro's cross deflects up into the air. Keane and Pickford go for the same ball. It's not convincing defending. It might drop for Gallagher on the edge of the 6-yard box, and the first effort in anger towards goal. Conor Gallagher sends it into the side netting.
Well, it's very rare that from Everton, when they get mixed up between centre half and goalkeeper. These two players in particular so often play with each other, Michael Keane and Jordan Pickford. Maybe that just speaks to the atmosphere inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's one of anxiety and excitement, I'm sure, and maybe that's just played a little bit of a part there, because Jordan Pickford so often demands and commands his penalty area. Michael Keane maybe doesn't hear him, or maybe he just times it wrong and they get in each other's way. And then Conor Gallagher, you don't really ever think he's going to hit the target from there, Tom. He would have really done well to get that into the back of the net, but he's hit the side netting, and I'm sure that'll give the hosts a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, difficult to wrap his unfavoured foot around the ball really there and hit the target. A lot of bodies to come through as well, despite his close proximity to the goal. But nearly 7 minutes played, and bar that Everton corner inside the opening 60 seconds, it has been a decent start for Spurs. They've been the team on the front foot. So we haven't mentioned from an Everton perspective is David Moyes will be keen than most for the Toffees to win this game and do his former club West Ham a favour. Still 0-0 at the London Stadium, incidentally, between the Hammers and Leeds United.
Spurs in our game just keeping possession inside their own penalty area at the moment. Kinski pulls the ball out towards Kevin Danso. His long throw will be utilised at times in this game. Spurs are able to keep possession as they make their way up towards the halfway line, and now Everton will go back to their goalkeeper Jordan Pickford. To Eric Boonham, left hand side. Mikolenko hugging the touchline, but he loses out in the challenge to Porro. Spence takes over. Porro is outside him. Those two are interchanging well in these early exchanges. Porro cuts in, right-footed cross cleared away by Keane. Ball ricochets to Group Dewsbury Hall on the edge of the area, but Everton aren't retaining possession that effectively in the game so far, and it's just allowing Spurs to build up more and more momentum. Porro again heavily involved, back towards Polinia. Spence will start again with Danso on the halfway line, but I think Roberto De Zerbi will be pretty pleased with how Tottenham Hotspur have started this game. Gallagher down the right hand side looking to get a cross in, pulls it back to the edge of the box, no one in white there. Rule can clear away, but again Everton give it away cheaply. Yeah,
they just can't get a foot on the ball, can they, Everton? They've not really settled down just yet. As I mentioned, maybe a little bit of anxiety just amongst the home fans, and that's maybe just bleeding into Everton's performance. Here they come again, Spurs.
Yeah, Doggy driving for a good positive run, attempted cross-come shot into the box, is blocked away at source, but desperate the defending from Everton, and back will come Tottenham again. Tails up in these early exchanges. Spence on the right hand side, mix up with Porro. Out towards Jed Spence, crossing position, Gallagher's backing him up, Spence standing up, Mikolenko taking on, Mikolenko gets to the byline, tries to dig out across, the Ukrainian gets back and diverts it behind the second Spurs corner of the game.
Yeah, bright start from Spence on that right hand side. He was interested to see whether he'd start given that injury to his jaw. He's got some sort of strapping on there obviously to keep it safe and secure, but it hasn't stopped him flying forward, it hasn't stopped him wanting to get involved. He's won another corner, as you say, and Spurs have definitely started the better.
Positivity about Tottenham, determined to get the opening goal early that would just alleviate some of the pressure and tension which is no doubt surrounding the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tell again take the corner. It's going to try a similar delivery to the one we saw a little bit earlier that he floated towards the far post. Give options in white shirts in the middle. To kind of lift it into that area once more. This time it's nodded down by Danso, and it comes back to Kevin Danso, who snatches really at the effort and sends it wide of the target, but another half opportunity for Spurs.
Yeah, well, we knew he'd play a part with the long throws, Tom. I haven't seen one of them just yet, but gets himself involved inside the area with this set piece, wins the initial header and then reacts as well to the rebounded effort. It's always difficult though from that sort of angle. He's of course predominantly right footed, and he sort of has to cut across it, and in the end just gets too much on it, goes wide.
Romero in attendance today. Looks like he wouldn't make this game after going back to Argentina and then coming back again this week. He watches on along with the other injured players, Mohamed Kudus, Kulusevski, who's not really featured at all this season. James Maddison, who has come on as substitute in the last two games, is amongst the substitutes again today for Spurs, and Dominic Solanke back on the bench. So their attacking options, as and when, if and when I should say, Spurs are chasing the game from an Everton point of view. Seamus Coleman, the club after this match, is on the bench. We're hoping to make one final appearance in Everton blue, as rare possession for Everton inside the Tottenham half. And we'll have got the decision of the free kick there. James Garner has gone down, and opportunity perhaps for Everton to get the ball in the box. Yeah,
Garner goes down, just feeling his neck a little bit. It'll be a good chance for Everton to settle down, get a foot on it. If they might not swing it into him, they might just opt to keep possession, because they haven't really had any of it so far. It's been about 60-40 in favour of Tottenham Hotspur, and I think Everton just need to settle. They are going to set up, and of course you mentioned the aerial dominance that Spurs have had from set pieces, the goals that they've had from corners and set pieces this season, but Everton have got some real attacking threats from these sorts of situations as well.
Yeah, they've got quality deliverers into box as well. One of them, Dewsbury Hall, who tries to play it low along the ground, one off the training ground, but I just think Merlin Rolla, who was the intended target, was caught on his heels. He wasn't expecting it. Even the communication wasn't quite there from Dewsbury Hall, or the German just wasn't reading from the same playbook. Spurs now coming forward. Porro, long ball up towards Richarlison against his former club, of course, this afternoon. Drops to Polinia, out to Doggy on the left hand side now. Mattis Tell, who's been one of the livelier performers for Spurs over recent weeks, goes back to a Doggy once again. Spurs will look to build some momentum with a period of possession. Danso, Austria squad that will be heading to the World Cup this summer. To Polina on the left-hand side. Patient build-up for Spurs. Nice turn from Tell. Can he wriggle away from his marker, Jacob Bryan, who stands his ground, but he was holding Mattis Tell, and Michael Oliver comes across, and inside the opening 13 minutes, Jacob Bryan becomes the first player booked. Yeah,
there's almost two fouls in there, Tom, because he grabs him at first, and then he sort of wriggles away from him, Tell, and then he has another bite, and I think there's a tangle of legs as well, so there's a couple in there. Tell's done well actually not to sort of react and get what Jacob Bryan was trying to get from him. It was a brilliant turn, wasn't it? Just lets it roll across him. You almost don't really see that much in football these days. So often players will take a touch, but it just allows it to run, uses the pace of the ball, and nearly gets away. Free kick instead then.
Yeah, it was most subtle, was it, from Jacob Bryan? And Seamus Coleman was incensed on the sidelines and seemed to be remonstrating with Spurs substitutes, Spurs supporters getting involved as well. He's been ushered back to his seat, Coleman, as the free kick whipped into the box, flicks off an Everton head, comes to the far post, and it was a real opportunity that for João Polina right on the corner of the 6-yard box. I think he had more time than he realised. In the end, it's just really prodded it over the top.
Yeah, it's a difficult angle, and he's got a few Everton defenders in front of him that might be there to block if it is on target. So again, it's one of them, much like the Danso one a few minutes ago. He would have done well to find the back of the net, but it's another half chance, isn't it, for Tottenham Hotspur? I mean, it's been all them, just less than a quarter of an hour gone, and we've seen very little from Everton, and so far all signs are pointing towards Spurs staying up.
Yeah, plenty of positivity from Spurs so far. It is still 0-0 though, as it is between West Ham and Leeds, so we're in the relegation battle, and just need a point really to survive. Guaranteed of survival given their superior goal difference. Jordan Pickford there. I'm not sure if he was wincing after he'd sent that ball long, but Spurs have a free kick. So he's going to leave that for Rodrigo Bentancur. A little bit of uncertainty between the two, but Bentancur will work it out to the right-hand side with Pedro Porro. It should be said he's more the right back, isn't he, today? And Jed Spence is playing in advance of him. Now with Polina, who had that opportunity a few moments ago, down the line to Tell. This time O'Brien gets touched tight and puts in a good challenge. Not happy though that he hasn't got the decision of the throw, and that's going to be an interesting battle. You imagine Spurs, now that O'Brien's on a yellow card, they're going to be trying to feed Mattis Tell the ball as much as possible. Yeah,
well, you mentioned Seamus Coleman on the bench for Everton. He might be needed sooner rather than later, potentially. You're absolutely right about Jed Spence being the further forward, but here comes Porro.
Yeah, Porro driving forward, deep ball towards the far post, too long for Richarlison, but it comes for Tell, who's again facing up against O'Brien, pulls it back to Polina, side foot effort towards goal is blocked by Garner. He's out to Udogie on the left hand side, now Tell once more. Every time he gets it, he wants to run at his marker, attempted to double up on him as he pulls it back to Udogie. Polina way inside the Everton half, back out to Tell once more, and he's up against O'Brien, cuts in on his right foot, cross into the box, headed away by Tarkowski. He picks it up, gives it to Danso again, building up a head of steam. Tottenham. Spence, did that hit his hand? Yes, it did, says the referee. One of those unfortunate ones. He miscontrols and it hits his flailing arm as he tries to reposition, but that just takes the sting out of the Tottenham pressure.
Yeah, just on that back line again from Spurs as well. I mentioned it's pragmatic. They haven't started the game in that sense. They have started on the front foot and quite positive, haven't they? But you know, it is on paper defensive because they've got 5 defensive players. But I think what that will allow is if they do get that goal and feel like they need to sit back, then they can do that much more comfortably and without having to make substitutions, and they can put either Porro or Spence as a right-sided centre-half, albeit not their preferred position, and really sit back. But I mean, we're nowhere near that stage, of course.
No, we're not, but yeah, it just allows that flexibility, and it also means that they have an extra attacking option up their sleeve if they do need to chase the game later on, with Kolo Muani also on the bench. Statistically just on our screen, Spurs' possession up to 65%. They've had 14 touches in the opposition box, 0 for Everton, 0 shots for Everton. Spurs have had 8. Jacob Bryan, on that early yellow card, has just given away another free kick. Tell got to the ball first. Clumsy challenge into the back of the ankle of Tell. Really does have to be careful, O'Brien.
Yeah, it's been a really bright start for Tell, hasn't it? We've seen that in fits and starts this season. He hasn't been consistent, and of course he's playing in a very inconsistent Spurs side as well, but on his day when he is playing really well, you can see why he was brought into the club. He's very exciting, and he's having a real time of it up against O'Brien, who he's running a bit of a tightrope, isn't he now?
Yeah, maybe David Moyes will have to consider bringing Seamus Coleman on soon, as Irabuna almost runs into trouble, just about squeezes it back to Jordan Pickford, who Takes a no-nonsense approach, sends the ball long, deep into Spurs territory. Van de Ven uses his pace to get to the ball first. Polina flicks it into Tell, back to Polina. Good play from Tottenham. Polina over the halfway line into the challenge with Tarkowski. Keane comes across to help his fellow centre-back. Clears upfield once more. But Spurs on top in this game, but it is still goalless. Spurs 0, Everton 0. Just one goal. The final day of the Premier League season so far, and I don't think many would have expected it to come in the Burnley-Wolves game, and the Wolves be the ones that are in front. That means that moving off the bottom of the table, doesn't it? And Burnley would drop to the foot if the score stays as it is, but plenty of twists and turns to come over the next 15 minutes or so, hour and a half. We find out the final positionings in this Premier League season. Danso on the halfway line for Spurs, gets it back off Porro, who tries to invert him from right back on occasion in this game so far. So again, just slowing slightly as approach the 20-minute mark. Van de Ven to Polina, drop with the shoulder, gets away from Roll, who bites back, but Polina just about retains the ball. It's a good battle between the two. Roll then a little over-aggressive in the challenge. Polina not happy, his boot has come off. He feels it was a naughty one from Merlin Roll, but free kick, nothing more.
Yeah, you can see something slightly different in the last few minutes from an Everton pressing perspective. They've just been a little bit more tenacious, they've been a little bit more in your face. That's resulted, of course, in the yellow card for O'Brien and now a foul from Merlin Roll. It's not quite had the effect. Spurs have been really switched on. Interestingly as well, most of the football, not all, but most, has been played on this near left-hand side, where quite a large portion of that half is covered by the shade, and maybe that's playing a part in terms of why Spurs are coming down this left-hand side.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit cooler in that area of the pitch. Fulham have taken the lead at home against Newcastle. 0 in that game between two sides, who are similar to Everton, battling to finish in the top half and nothing more. As Roll down the right, strong challenge from Van de Ven goes in. Both players have been left in a heap on the floor. Van de Ven actually looks like he might have come off the worst of the two. Camera pans to Michael Oliver, bringing you independent off-tube studio commentary. I think he has given the decision in the favour of Everton. De Ven, wholehearted challenge, but yeah, he seems to have caught an awkward one himself.
Yeah, I mean, Roll's in possession of the ball, isn't he? There's a coming together, and there is a nasty sort of catch on the sort of side of Van de Ven's foot. I think this is, I'm sure he's probably hurt, Tom, but I think there's a little bit of gamesmanship here from Van de Ven and from Spurs, in that they know that if they get an Everton man sent off, they can get this reviewed by VAR and it leads to a red card. They've got a pretty good chance of staying up. It is high from Roll, but he's in possession. He's played the ball across. For me, it's not a foul either way, really. I don't think it's. I think I probably would have waved play on, but I can see from both sides why they're a little bit frustrated with that.
Yeah, I think Roll's played the ball. He was, as you say, the one in possession. He's played it, and then Van de Ven's come in with the challenge, and the momentum of the two is taken bottom of the calf, if you like, of Van de Ven into the studs of Roll, rather than the other way around. Obviously, from a Tottenham perspective, Roberto De Zerbi was up talking to the fourth official. He feels it should be a decision his side's way. Otherwise, David Moyes and Everton think they should have the free kick, and that is what has been given. So the over-aggressive nature of the initial challenge from Mickey Van de Ven is why the free kick has ultimately gone Everton's way. VAR will have had a look at that as well and decided there's no action to be taken against Merlin Roll, as Garner sends a free kick into the box. I think that flicked off an Everton head first. Yeah, James Tarkowski trying to help it towards goal. Goes well wide of the target.
Yeah, it's a decent ball into the area, isn't it? And of course, they're aiming for Tarkowski, who is the main threat. But as you say, it was decently defended there from Spurs, done their job. It's gone out of play, and again, it continues that Everton are really in the game from an attacking sense. They've seen a little bit more possession in the last couple of minutes, but still, you feel that they just haven't quite settled yet.
Tarkowski touch, probably the first one they've had in the Spurs penalty area. Biting into the challenges a little bit more, though, trying to get closer to Spurs. It would have been too easy for Tottenham in the opening 15 minutes or so of this game. Oh, please, David Moyes, as Kevin Danso for Spurs gives it to the now fully recovered Mickey Van de Ven. Again, slows it down. I don't know. Again, it's probably the heat playing its part, isn't it? But I don't know if necessarily it's the best approach from Spurs. They've slowed it down considerably in the last 5 minutes and lost a bit of their momentum.
Yeah, they'd started really bright, hadn't they? And it has been Everton, albeit not in possession. It's actually in the press that have been injecting the energy over the last 10 minutes, but here they come.
Yeah, a chance now for Spurs. Spence down the right hand side, flashes it into the 6-yard box. Pickford gets an important touch up into the air, drops for Tell. Left hand side of the penalty area now, so it's a doggy actually who pulls it back to Mattis Tell. Now Rodrigo Bentancur. Palhinha to potentially move this into the box, just changes his mind and goes out to Destiny Udogie once more on the left. He'll feed Mattis Tell. Tarkowski comes across, just gives Tell a little bit of a nudge, and that's enough for the ball to carry out of play for a goal kick. Manchester City have taken the lead at home against Aston Villa in Pep Guardiola's final match in charge. As we look at the replay of that Spence cross and the reactions, Jordan Pickford doing just about enough. He doesn't send that up into the air, he's getting behind for a corner, but he got away from Richarlison, which was the most important thing. But we've reached the midway point then in this first half as well, because of the heat this afternoon in North London. There is a drinks break which the teams are taking right now, so it gives me a great opportunity, with it goalless, to hand over to Tom, who will take you through to the half-time break.
Cheers, Tom. Yeah, of course, temperatures reaching 30 and above where the game is being played in North London at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so no surprise there's this drinks break for both sets of players, and it's an opportunity, of course, for both managers to have a word in the ear of their players. And you feel that, particularly from an Everton point of view, Tom, that David Moyes would have expected much more and much better from his side, but from De Zerbi's point of view, I imagine it'll be, let's return to that sort of opening 10-15 minutes and bring that energy back, even though there is the heat.
Yeah, he'll be wanting to use this break, just, recharge Spurs players and go again, keep that intensity going, keep the crowd on side, keep that positivity right where it needs to be. And as you say, David Moyes will be a little bit frustrated with what he's seen from Everton so far. It's always a difficult one because he's got so little to play for. The chance of getting into Europe was ended last weekend, wasn't it, after that disappointing home defeat to Sunderland, 6 without a win for Everton coming into this one. So they have finished the season quite poorly, and Moyes want to see a little bit more. The crumb of encouragement for him is Everton have been better in the last 5 minutes or so and have shown a little bit more oomph, if you like, to try and win the ball back. Yeah,
you mentioned the 6 games without victory. It's actually their longest winless run in the Premier League for 2 years, so it just sort of speaks to how well they have been playing, particularly under David Moyes since his return to the club. There's been another goal. You just mentioned Sunderland, where they've gone in front at home against Chelsea. And of course, Chelsea, one of the sides coming into today with something still to play for. Sunderland have leapfrogged them now into a European place. What a season that would be for the Black Cats, their first back in the Premier League after their exile to the Championship and beyond. They are in front at the Stadium of Light, which I imagine is absolutely bouncing. Now, we don't have the benefit of the audio inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but I imagine the atmosphere is maybe a little bit better than it would have been at the start of the game, because it's been a good start from De Zerbi's men. Here's Richarlison. He's been little involved, just tries to roll it away from Garner. Good challenge comes in, not once but twice, and Garner's won it back, and he has a look forward for options. Richarlison thought about having a little bit of a nibble at his heels. Garner, though, finds in role on this right-hand side. He plays it back to O'Brien, who has been booked, by the way, in this first half. 25 minutes gone, still 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It was Trey Hume, by the way, the Sunderland scorer. It's after, of course, Antoine Semenyo scored for Manchester City. Everywhere else is as you were, and it's as you were, of course, in the relegation battle. Spurs still remain the Premier League team at the moment. It's West Ham who will be going down to the Championship. Here's Mikalenko, flicks it over the heads of a couple of defenders and finds Dewsbury Hall into the corner on the far side, tries to flick it back, and Pedro Porro is there to defend. It's out for an Everton throw-in, and already we've seen a little bit more energy from the visitors.
Yeah, as you say, two challenges have been a little bit more aggressive. James Garner's been hard of that in the middle of the park, rolls with a few Dewsbury Hall as well. It's injected a little bit more into Everton, which is what they needed, and certainly what David Moyes would have wanted.
Throw in for Mikalenko in the sun on that left hand side. Throws it at the feet of Njai, back to the Ukrainian. Ball into the air is a high lofted one towards a penalty spot, away by Gallagher. It's going to be picked up though by Roll, about 35 yards from goal. Goes backwards to Dewsbury Hall. Now here's O'Brien. Touch out of his feet into Eric Boonham. Now here's Mikalenko once again, and Njai had a little bit more time than he realised, then goes on the run away from Richarlison. Now here's Mikalenko. That's nice from Everton. Ball into the area, away from Palhinha though. Gallagher underneath it, can't find a teammate. Here's Garner, now all of a sudden it's Spurs who are being pegged back as Garner has it again. He's back to halfway for O'Brien, fires it into the feet of Roll. Not the greatest first touch, and they've lost possession. And Spurs have won it back. It's Richarlison. Out towards the left-hand side for Mateus Tell. It's been a brilliant start to the game from him, and that continues as he goes round Merlin Roll. Has he kept it in? Referee says no, he's run it out of play. Just a heavy touch there from Merlin Roll that was nearly very costly, but up until that point, Spurs were being pushed back.
Yeah, decent since coming into the team a couple of weeks ago, Merlin Roll, but that was a heavy touch, and then he compounded it by giving the ball away under pressure. And a little bit fortunate that Tell, who has been the main live wire for Spurs so far in this game, just ran the ball out of play. James Maddison is out warming up, a couple of substitute appearances for him since returning from injury, and he'll be hoping to come on and be able to play his part. Sure, again, if Spurs need a goal, he's probably going to be the first cab off the rank.
28 minutes on the clock, Spurs 0, Everton 0. You're listening to Off Tube, independent studio-based commentary as Spurs pick the ball up in the centre circle. Spence goes round the corner to Porro. Porro infield to Gallagher. Gallagher back to Danso, and then across towards Van der Ven on the left-hand side. He just takes a couple of touches, which brings him towards the halfway point, into the feet of Richarlison. His ball round the corner is high. Does find Tell, who tries to roll it through the legs of Merlin Roll. The man on loan from Freiburg, and Everton have won it back. And here's Tieno Barry. Now, I've not said his name just yet inside 29 minutes, but he is in possession down the right-hand side. I think that might be his first couple of touches, Tom, as he gives the ball away, and Spurs pick it back up. Get your thoughts on that in just a sec as Richarlison goes down under the challenge. Is it going to be a free kick to Tottenham Hotspur? Yes, it is, but it's almost taken 29 minutes for us to realise that Barry's playing. He hasn't been involved at all.
Well, I was just thinking, we haven't had the touch map, how fewest touches in the match statistic come up on our screen, but you'd probably think him and then Richarlison would be the two of the lowest. They're both involved there. Barry, first of all, driving forward, Spurs then win it back, and Richarlison been fortunate to get that free kick. Aaron Booman was robust in the challenge, but there wasn't too much in it. Given nonetheless, but that's the thing. It's why we're 0-0. Why we haven't had that many chances. Neither team's been really able to find a way to get their centre forward involved.
Yeah, half an hour gone. Still Spurs 0, Everton 0. Elsewhere, it's as you were since we last gave you an update. Wolves in front away at Burnley in the proverbial wooden spoon. Fulham 1, Newcastle 0. Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0, and Sunderland 1, Chelsea 0. Are the only goals so far this afternoon on the final Premier League day of the season, with plenty at stake. Premier League survival and European places as well. Of course, the title already wrapped up. Arsenal will lift the trophy later this afternoon, as of course departures of monumental size. Pep Guardiola leaving Manchester City, as is John Stones and Bernardo Silva. Liverpool will be waving goodbye to Mo Salah and Andrew Robertson. There's a few more departures as well across the Premier League, but here goes Bentancur to Gallagher, back to the Uruguayan, out towards Tell on the left-hand side. A couple of touches from him down the line, doubled up with O'Brien and Roll, goes backwards to Paulinho, now infield to Van der Ven, who scored twice in that 3-0 victory for Spurs in the reverse fixture in October. Now here's Spence on the right-hand side, drops his shoulder and beats Barry. Thought about a cross, cuts back, loses out now to Keenan Dewsbury-Hall, who comes away with possession, goes down under the challenge of Spence, and that will be a free kick. Just a moment of hesitancy there from Jed Spence. Didn't feel he had a good enough option, and he lost the ball.
Yeah, I think he's got to put the ball in the box there. He's got the space to just lift that in. Richarlison is decent in the air, and perhaps that's where it slightly falls down for Spurs on that right-hand side. They don't have a play with natural attacking instincts in that kind of area, and then to compound it, Spence trying to get back. Those where Dewsbury-Hall just feels any kind of breath of air going past him when he goes down, he's going to win the free kick in that situation. 32
minutes on the clock, still 0-0 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Here is Dewsbury-Hall, just turns away from Pedro Porro, moves it to the feet of Iliman Ndiaye. The Senegalese international finds Dewsbury-Hall again, left-footed ball into the area. Here's a block. Jed Spence gets on the loose ball towards that far right-hand side, tightly marked by Mikalenko. No foul as he wins the ball back. Then Barry loses out to Porro. Jed Spence again in possession, able to clear this time up towards Richarlison. Now here's Paulinho. Michael Keane just stolen it off his toes. Of course, plenty of other storylines other than the ones I just mentioned. I think one of the most intriguing ones for me is David Moyes' role in all this, given his successful tenure at West Ham, but here goes Iliman Ndiaye into the area, tries to find Barry round the corner. He's taken the last touch off a Spurs man. It's going to be an Everton corner.
Brilliant feat from Ndiaye, the first real injection of pace and skill from an Everton point of view going forward, and he dances through, rides a couple of challenges, a doggy dangles the leg of his poor challenge really from him, not really trying to win the ball, and he's just crowded out at the vital moment, and Ndiaye is trying to pull the trigger, but he's Everton's danger man, isn't he, when he gets on the ball, when he runs, particularly when he moves it onto that left foot, he's capable of causing lots of problems.
Yeah, that's much more like it from the AFCON winner. Of course, that decision is still to be confirmed, whether Senegal will be awarded the AFCON title, as Dewsbury Hall prepares to swing this corner in. Left foot at the ball towards the front post. It's headed, but not out by Spurs. Then Jed Spence picks it up on the byline on that right hand side, swings a right boot at the ball to clear it, but there's no one up there in a white shirt, and all of a sudden in sort of the last maybe 8 or 9 minutes on, we have just seen Spurs be pushed back a little bit further, and from that corner clearly they had plenty of bodies back and no real option up there. We're just seeing a little bit more pragmatism now.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit concerned if I was a Spurs supporter, because that fast start they made, Everton just before the water break were maybe starting to get a feel for the game, but certainly after that they've been the better side for me, and they've done a bit more than pressing. We've seen more of Ndiaye on the ball. Barry's starting to get a little bit more involved, although they still need more from him. So yeah, just like Everton is slightly, and it is slight because there's not much in this game, in the ascendancy.
Well, I wonder if Thomas Tuchel's watching the action at home, or potentially he's at one of the grounds, but one thing I'm sure he will be made aware of today is Morgan Gibbs-White's fine form continue. He's just scored for Nottingham Forest, 1-0 to them at home to Bournemouth. Here comes Spurs though with Palhinha. James Garner went across, he's beating Palhinha. Now he's got an opportunity to pull the trigger, he does. It's blocked by Iroegbunam, and now it's out for a Spurs corner.
Yeah, wrong decision from Palhinha. I think he had options left and right, went for the shot. Good block from Tim Iroegbunam getting back. Starting though that breakaway, Dewsbury Hall just getting caught in possession there. Didn't realise that Porro was coming on his blind side, and Porro was just strong in the challenge there, but Dewsbury Hall has been left crumpled in a heap. As I say, Porro and Spencer out to his right hand side. One of those two would have been the better choice.
Elsewhere, by the way, Manchester United have taken lead away at the Amex. Dorgu has scored. We'll get confirmation of this, but it looks like Bruno Fernandes has got the assist, which would give him the record for the most assists in a Premier League season. We'll confirm that 100% for you. 10 minutes to go before half time, still 0-0. Spurs corner into the area towards the penalty spot. The heads go up, it's towards goal by Danso. It took a flick off a teammate, I think, in the end, as it's collected by Jordan Pickford. And that is a half chance there from Kevin Danso. It's not his first.
Yeah, in set pieces are where Spurs have been getting the most joy so far. And he gets good purchase on the header, stooping slightly. He was heading towards that far corner. Hard to know whether it would have been creeping in or not, but it's Richarlison who gets in his teammate's way and diverts it not only straight into the path of the grateful Jordan Pickford, but just to pull the sting out of the effort as well.
36 minutes gone, Spurs 0, Everton 0. It looks like it was Bruno Fernandes with the assist, so with that, his 21st of the season. He does break the record for the most in a Premier League campaign. The player of the year, of course, as well in the Premier League. It's been an outstanding season for the Portuguese. And Morgan Gibbs-White as well, by the way. 15th goal of the season for him. For Nottingham Forest, they lead 1-0 at home against Bournemouth. Jordan Pickford takes the free kick up towards Barry. He wins the header back to Roll. Roll goes round the corner to Dewsbury Hall. He shrugged off that earlier challenge, tries to feed it through to Barry. Miscommunication though, as Kinski's off his line to collect it. Of course, back in the side following that disastrous night in Madrid. He's been trusted though since then, as Richarlison has it on halfway, holds it up well, goes backwards to Gallagher. Gallagher takes it off the toes of his own teammate in Bentancur, but it's for the better as Spurs come forward now down the left hand side. Udogie into Tell, and then Tell back to Gallagher. The three in midfield, Gallagher, Palhinha and Bentancur, very similar players. Tommy, we sort of wondered who of the three would be further forward. They're almost taking it in turns to players furthest forward in that middle three.
Yeah, Gallagher we thought was kind of starting there. Palhinha's been quite advanced a lot, and just at the moment Bentancur's at the front of the triangle, if you like. As we mentioned, it's quite a pragmatic starting 11 from Spurs, particularly with Spencer Porro out on the right hand side working in tandem, just lacking a bit of creative spark at the moment.
Iroegbunam puts the press on, but Spurs are able to keep possession, albeit still on halfway. It's with Van der Ven across to Paulinho, who's just in the left-back slot at the minute. It's a heavy touch from Bentancur. That's allowed Njai to steal it away. Forward to Barry. Could be a break on here. It's back to Njai down the right-hand side. It's a difficult angle for him to do anything with. Tries to swing a ball in. Deflected into the air by Van der Ven. There's an interesting header back there from Paulinho. Luckily, Spurs have kept possession. It was a very interesting decision from the former Fulham man, as they're able to clear their lines now down the right-hand side, looking for Jed Spence. Across comes Michael Keane, and Everton will deal with it. Back to Pickford. Takes a touch, then finds Tarkowski. He drops his shoulder nicely and finds O'Brien towards the right-hand side, and then they're able to clear their lines. They're coming together off the ball, though. I think it was Richarlison with the late challenge. He will plead his innocence, but he was late.
He was. He's frustrated. He's desperately trying to help out his team and win the ball back. As we mentioned earlier, he's not had much of a touch in the game. And, all he's trying to do is put the ball down the line from Jacob O'Brien, but he is late, and it's more his trailing leg, his right, that catches Jacob O'Brien. So free kick. Another day, maybe a yellow card would have followed, but for the time being, keeping his cards in his pocket.
39 minutes on the clock. Spurs 0, Everton 0. At the minute, they will survive with West Ham still drawing 0-0 as well at home against Leeds United. As Jordan Pickford prepares to take this free kick. Midway through his own half. Spotting some very bright, luminous pink and blue boots. He fires the left one through the ball up towards the final third. It's flicked on by O'Brien into the channel. Njai will chase. Udogie's there to cover. Njai's though kept it in. He's got there in front of the Italian. Good recovery though from Udogie. And then they win the ball back. He's able to clear there is Bentancur. Garner on the end of it, just took too long though, and his pocket's been picked by Tell, and this could be a break now on for Spurs. Ball towards the right-hand side to Pedro Porro, who runs onto his own header. Still Porro. He's got support from Spence down the line. First time into the channel for the England international. Just cuts back to the Spaniard once more. Now infield to Gallagher. Gallagher back to Porro on the far side. Looks for a ball into the area. Is looking towards the back post, whereas Tell brings it down. Fires towards goal. Headed away by Tarkowski. Udogie keeps it alive. Here's Tell once more. The former Bayern Munich man's got O'Brien to beat once again. He's had a good afternoon against him, but doesn't want to run at him this time. Finds Paulinho instead. Now he's Bentancur. Opens up. Towards the right-hand side is Porro once again. Again tries to get a ball into the area, but once more it's blocked by Dewsbury Hall. The momentum's just starting to swing.
Yeah, again, Spurs trying to have a strong end to this first half. They can score a goal now. It would just give them such breathing room and be a dagger in the hearts of West Ham as well. Still goalless with Leeds in that game, but this is the first opportunity we're going to have in the match with 40 minutes on the clock to see a Kevin Danso long throw.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's over there in the sun on the far right hand side as Everton players track back and get into defensive positions to defend this absolute launch from Kevin Danso. He uses every inch that the pitch will allow and throws the ball into the air. It's relatively short by his standards. It's headed away at the front post. It's going to drop on the end through Doggy. Thought about a strike, finds Gallagher instead, left-hand side on the byline, swings the ball in, blocked by Roll. He then pushes Gallagher over. That is such a cheap free kick to give away.
It's a really silly challenge from Burley Roll. I mean, the ball's spinning, probably back in his favour. Very difficult for Conor Gallagher to control. And if he does, he's facing the touchline and going nowhere. So why put two clean hands into the back of him? I don't know. It's silly from Burley Roll. And Everton concede from this free kick. David Moyes will absolutely see it.
Yeah, as will the West Ham fans as well. 41 minutes on the clock. Spurs 0, Everton 0. Pedro Porro prepares to swing this ball in from the set piece. Just the 2 assists in this Premier League season for Pedro Porro. Just the 1 goal. It's relatively low numbers by his standards. Such an attacking player, but that of course speaks to the poor season that Spurs have had in front of goal. It's almost level with the 6-yard box, this one, so it could be dangerous for Jordan Pickford to deal with. Us. Just a one-man wall in Iliman Njai. Referee Michael Oliver gives the all clear, and it comes then from Porro towards the back post. Pickford's up, it's punched away towards the edge for Jed Spence, who nods it back into the danger zone. Further away now by Eric Boonham. Header won there by Bentancur to keep the move alive for Spurs. They've stayed up. There's a man down though for Everton. Michael Oliver's just had a word with Dewsbury Hall. So to say just to get back up because I'm not blowing the whistle. The ball comes into the area, the heads go up again. Richarlison picks up the scraps on the byline on the left-hand side. He's got Njai and O'Brien to beat. Tries to get a ball and it's blocked. It will be a corner.
Yeah, best Richarlison could do that in the corner. I like that from Michael Oliver, though. He was right on top of the situation, so he knew he didn't need to just blow his whistle. He could just have a quick word with Dewsbury Hall. I think everyone stopped, though, momentarily whilst he was almost doing that, the referee. But better that than stopping the game. We'd probably still be waiting now whilst the trainers were getting onto the field.
Yeah, game allowed to flow there by Michael Oliver. It's good refereeing as Tottenham prepare another corner in quick succession. It will be Tell this time to swing it in towards the far post once again. The heads go up, it's off the post, the follow-up's in the back of the net, it's cleared off the line, and then eventually it's poked home. The celebrations had started anyway though. João Palhinha believes he scored. He's adamant that it was his effort that went over the line, but either way the Spurs fans won't care because it's Spurs 1, Everton 0, and they take first blood in this relegation battle.
Oh, huge goal for Tottenham and João Palhinha. You mentioned the threat that they have from set pieces, and it's a good ball in. Palhinha, unfortunate really, with his first header, ricochets off the woodwork but comes back to him. He's the quickest to react, and first viewing, I think his effort did squeeze over the line. Everton defender getting back, desperately trying to hook it away, but I think we may be proved wrong when we look at this, although the technology has said it's gone in, but I think it has crossed the line, and that just gives Spurs that breathing room that they were desperately looking for.
Yeah, breakthrough, lift off for Tottenham Hotspur, and relief as well. It's Spurs 1, Everton 0. The initial effort is a brilliant header, isn't it, off the post, and I think that replay just about shows it was already over the line. It doesn't matter because it's in anyway from Tottenham Hotspur. We mentioned, Tom, that only the champions Arsenal, who coincidentally have just gone in front as well in their game by a goal to 0 through Gabriel Jesus, only the champions have scored more goals from set pieces, and that's another one for Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking back at the replay, probably should have scored with the header, shouldn't he? Because it's a free header inside the 6-yard box. He hits the post, but as I say, credit to him. Gets back. Decent attempt for Barry to get it off the line, but it had crossed, and as you mentioned there, it didn't really matter anyway because Kevin Danso was there to bundle the ball back over the line once more. But it will be Palhinha's goal, and De Zerbi celebrating by booting the ball into the supporters, into the ground.
Yeah, I think it's relief more than enjoyment, isn't it, from Spurs fans? I think if you'd have said at the start of the season you're going to have to celebrate staying up on the final day, I don't think they'd been particularly looking forward to that, but of course that's the cards that their players have dealt them, and it's Spurs 1, Everton 0. And right before half time, by the way, Tom, where of course the Spurs players will get the psychological advantage, there's a psychological disadvantage for West Ham players who will go into half time knowing, I'm sure they'll find out almost immediately, that Spurs are in front.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it was vitally important that the first goal of the game went in favour of West Ham, whether they were to take the lead against Leeds or were Everton to get in front against Spurs. Now that Spurs have that cushion, we need a 3-goal swing. We need Everton to score twice, don't we? And West Ham to score without reply against Leeds, and that's going to be very difficult to happen for the Hammers. Yeah,
Brian Mbeumo's got a second for Manchester United just before the break, by the way, away against Brighton and Hove Albion, but it's Tottenham 1, Everton 0. And to be fair to Tottenham Hotspur, Tom, you can't say it wasn't coming. They've been the better of the two sides.
They've had chances, nudging the back from Rodrigo Bentancur though into James Tarkowski from the long throw. Everton just had. The referee was getting the word from VAR. Players continued, so there's been no penalty given, but just a little nudge there from Bentancur and an unnecessary one. Yeah,
no penalty, but the fourth official has indicated a minimum of 4 minutes added on at the end of the first 45. We played just shy of a minute of those 4, so the quarter of the way through stoppage time. Here come Everton with Eric Boone into a central position for James Garner. He opens up into the feet now of O'Brien on the right hand side. Positive touches from him, brings him towards the final third, tries to poke it down the line through the eye of a needle for Merlin Roll, but it's picked off by Spurs, who have defended pretty much perfectly in this first half as Gallagher takes over possession, swings his boot through the ball to clear away, headed back by Tarkowski. There's Tell underneath it, lovely to get away from Dewsbury Hall, and finds Udogie as well round the corner, and the confidence is flowing now from the 17th place team in Tottenham Hotspur. Here's Udogie, left hand side, swings a ball in early, low driven one is deflected. Jordan Pickford will pick up the scraps, but the tails are up.
They don't want half time at the moment, Spurs do they? I mean, another goal definitely would, you'd imagine, wrap things up. Positivity, that little interchange between Udogie and Tell was two players full of confidence, really, and they're playing as well as probably their supporters would have dared hoped in this first half, and got the noses in front, which of course is the most important thing.
Yeah, by all accounts, it doesn't sound like the same sort of performance that West Ham are giving at home. in the London Stadium against Leeds United. And from what I've seen in moments during this game, it's been rather lacklustre, and Spurs have played on the front foot, played with energy for the most part in this first half. It's 47.5 minutes gone. You're listening to Off Tube Independent Studio Base commentary. Tottenham 1, Everton 0. A goal from João Palhinha, his 5th of this Premier League campaign. Merlin Roll, has he fouled Conor Gallagher there? No, referee says play on as Palhinha flicks it up into the air. Jed Spence tries to get underneath it, but it's Mikalenko who wins it. Dewsbury Hall keeps it going on the left-hand side for Barry to give chase. Danso, though, clears away. And the Ukrainian Mikalenko will just allow that ball to trickle out of play for an Everton throw. Real urgency from the visitors this afternoon, who, of course, want to play their part today. They won't just want to roll over. They, of course, have got something to play for. A top half finish on the cards as the ball's poked into the back of the net, but the whistle had long gone. Foul there on Mikalenko by Jed Spence. It was actually off camera. We didn't see it, but he seems to be in some discomfort.
He does. Tell them put the ball into the back of the net after the whistle was blown. I don't know if the referee's going to give him a yellow card. Jordan Pickford was certainly asking for it, but Mikalenko is in a fair degree of pain on the far side. Half times are starting to come in. West Ham Leeds was actually the first one to go to half time, so it's not much added on time there, which would suggest not much has been happening as we back at the decisive moment in our game so far. That goal from João Palhinha a few minutes ago.
Yeah, off the post and then rebounded into the back of the net. Danso bundled it in just to make sure, but as I said, Palhinha was already wheeling away. The Portuguese international was adamant he'd found the back of the net. The celebrations on the side from the second choice, at least today, goalkeeper in Vicario. One of real excitement with Roberto De Zerbi. We've played over 4 minutes added on, but we're going to have to keep playing in this first half because Mikalenko's still down. He's been seen to by the physios. It's on that far left-hand side, so both the Ukrainian and the two members of the coaching staff are being baked in the sun as we wait for play to continue. Just getting a replay now, finally, Tom, of what caused the injury. It's just one of those awkward ones. It probably isn't a foul. It's certainly not a malicious one. He just gets on the wrong end of it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's kicked the ball and he's kicked the studs of Jed Spence. He's certainly in a degree of discomfort. Mikalenko, we see how he is over the half-time break to see if he is able to continue, but it's delayed. He's going into 5 or 6 minutes of stoppage time. I mentioned West Ham Leeds went to half-time a good few minutes ago, so there's going to be a bit of a discrepancy unless they do line things up. Otherwise there will be a discrepancy between when the two key games in the relegation battle finish, but that is now half-time in our game. So João Palhinha's goal late in this first half is the difference between the two sides. It's so far so good for Spurs in their survival battle. Lead Everton by a goal to nil. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to nil at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danso and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to nil at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danso and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to nil at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well,
just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post and rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to me, reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by 1-0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. So far so good for Tottenham. They lead Everton by a goal to 0 at the break, and as it stands will be surviving in the Premier League. João Palhinha scored the only goal of the half on 43 minutes, corner into the box. His first header hit the post, it rebounded to him, he reacted well, just about got the ball over the line despite the best efforts of Tierno Barry. Spurs were the better side really before that, creating half opportunities for the likes of Danzo and for Conor Gallagher. Everton rarely threatened. Tottenham 1, Everton 0 at the break. It's a very warm welcome back to our independent off-tube studio commentary of this Premier League final day contest between Tottenham and Everton. As you were just hearing, Spurs in front at the break thanks to that João Palhinha goal late in the first half, and that would be more than enough for Spurs to survive in the Premier League, and as a consequence West Ham will be relegated. Spurs only need a draw to survive, and even if they don't and they lose this game, still require West Ham to beat Leeds. They're currently 0-0 for Spurs to be relegated. So it's heavily in Roberto De Zerbi's side's favour as the final half of the season is about to get underway. For Everton, battling as they are to finish in the top half, David Moyes will want a much improved performance from them in the second half. It doesn't appear as though any changes have been made at the break, with just a slight delay as Michael Oliver prepares to get the second half underway. It's myself, Tom McGarry and Tom Wilson talking you through the remainder of the contest. The delay is because the assistant referees is just having their technical equipment sorted out, but Tom, it's so far so good from a Spurs perspective.
Yeah, you said no changes. I don't think they need to change anything, Spurs. They've been pretty good in that first half. They haven't really allowed Everton to lay a glove on them, have they? They've been pretty much perfect. The goal was not the greatest. I mean, it was a good header from João Palhinha, and maybe a little bit fortunate that it comes right back to him off the post, but I think you make your own luck, and they've worked really hard, Spurs, in the heat as well. Let's not forget, it's 30 odd degrees in North London this afternoon. It's no mean feat to play with the energy that they have. At times they've slowed it down, and they've sort of timed that really well, because they've done it in periods of the game where Everton are also feeling the sting a little bit as well, and they've sort of managed the game really well in that sense. I'm sure the goals really lifted the crowds. Again, we don't have the benefit of the audio from inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this afternoon, but I can imagine it was a little bit of everything, I bet, in that first half. I'm sure it was a bit of a sort of excitement at the start, but anxiousness as well, and as the game progressed, without a goal, without a big clear-cut opportunity, I bet that anxiety grew a little bit. I'm sure it's now rolled over into a little bit more excitement. But still a second half of football to be played, of course, and plenty can change.
Absolutely, and we're still waiting for this delay with the technical equipment for the assistant referee to be sorted. The West Ham Leeds game is already into the 50th minute of that contest. There has been goals go in as well at the start of the second half. Everywhere else is just about back underway except for Burnley against Wolves. But Manchester United are 3-0 up now against Brighton. Brighton are not going to be finishing the season on a high note. Bruno Fernandes, who's already got that assist record today, he's the man on the score sheet for United. Ollie Watkins has levelled things up for Aston Villa away at Manchester City in Pep Guardiola's final game in charge. 1-1 at the Etihad. And Sunderland, who look like they are going to be getting European football as it stands, they've doubled their lead against one of their European rivals, Chelsea. Malo Gusto was put through his own net. Sunderland 2, Chelsea 0 in that game, and we're still waiting in hours for the second half to get underway. So I'll run you through the two 11s. Say no changes made at the break. Kinski is in goal for Spurs. It's Porro, Danzo, Van der Ven and Udogie the back four. Bentancur and Palhinha in front of them, with Spence, Gallagher and Tell supporting Richarlison up front. For Everton, Pickford in goal. O'Brien, who was the only player to pick up a yellow card in the first half. Tarkowski, Keane and Mikolenko are the back four. Mikolenko did pick up that knock at the end of the first half, but looks like he's okay. Garner and Eric Boonham are in the middle of the park role. Dewsbury Hall and Njai supporting Tieno Barry up front. Still we wait for the second half to get underway. The players shouldn't have any real problem keeping warm given the temperatures today out there, and it looks like we might now be about to get underway, but it might just have taken some of the atmosphere out of the ground.
Yeah, potentially so. Maybe for West Ham fans that might be a little bit of frustration as well, because they still need to win to survive, don't they? And they need Everton to score, but the games are potentially now going to finish at different times, and that can lead to excitement, of course, as it did when we had the Aguero moment and Manchester United had finished their game, hadn't they, all those years ago. But yeah, the game's back underway, and hopefully they can sort of regain some of that energy and excitement that they would have had coming out of the tunnel.
Yeah, so the best part of 6 minutes after the second half at the London Stadium got underway, we have resumed now, so there is going to be a lot of stoppage time in that game, and not so much in this one. They are going to be finishing at
quite significantly different times. Significant anyway if it is still tight heading into the closing minutes. As it stands, Spurs look like they're going to survive reasonably comfortably, but still plenty of work to do as Mykolenko and Spence in a bit of a wrestling match on the halfway line. Mykolenko is penalised. A little bit of pushing and shoving between the two respective players, and Jai just trying to delay the taking of the free kick. Slow things down anyway, and Porro will just send this ball backwards to Kevin Danso, and across now to Mickey van der Ven, captain's armband of course on today, the Dutchman. Just slow things down slightly, more shade across 90% of the pitch you would say now, which will help the players. It was just down the near touch line in the first half where the shaded area was, as Iribunum with a good challenge, but an even better one back from Spence, pinches the ball back for Spurs. He tries to take on Mykolenko, those two again involved in a duel. But last touch there, clearly to me to come off Mykolenko, but the assistant referee, who is better placed, has decided to give the goal kick. Yeah,
we'll wait and see, because I'm with you, Tom. I thought it was definitely off Mykolenko. Have a look at the replay here. Yeah, it does come off the studs, doesn't it? I don't know how he's not seen that, the official on that side. I mean, you know, his technical equipment wasn't working, but his eyes still should be. He's got that one wrong.
Yeah, it was his equipment, wasn't it, that was getting sorted out. Maybe just having to settle back down himself at the start of this second half, but should have been a Tottenham ball. They have won it back inside their own half now. Porro clipping it down the line. Spence will again give chase against Mykolenko, and he's got the legs to get there. First, the England international pirouettes. The ball back to Gallagher, who returns into Spence on the corner of the Everton penalty area. He curls an effort left-footed. And Pickford spills it, but fortunately for him, and he puffs out his cheeks as he gets back to his feet. Came out of his hands, hit his left thigh, and just from his point of view went the right side of the post.
Yeah, absolutely. Just about squeaks it away, doesn't it? It's been a very unconventional, very unlike Jordan Pickford performance today. It's a couple of times where he spilled a cross or a shot. He of course came out and got in a tangle with his own player Michael Keane, so yeah, for whatever reason Jordan Pickford not at his best this afternoon.
Yeah, one of the just two Everton players in the starting 11 they'll be heading to the World Cup alongside Iliman and Jai. Spurs go in search of their 19th goal from a corner of the season. Already got one this afternoon. Ball whipped in towards the far post. It's Richarlison who gets his head to it, perhaps unsighted. Almost flicks it away out of danger, then heading it towards goal. Tell will keep it alive for Spurs on the left. Dinks the ball back into the box. Tarkowski stretch. Almost took it off the head of Tierno Barry, and then a shot comes in from Porro. Deflects behind for another corner. Goals continuing to go in elsewhere. There's been a flurry at the start of the second half. Burnley level at home against Wolves in the battle of the bottom two. Zian Fleming scoring. Bournemouth level at Nottingham Forest through Marcus Tavernier, and Chelsea goal back at Sunderland 2-1 that game. Cole Palmer, man on the score sheet. But another set piece opportunity for Spurs, another goal as we mentioned for them, I think would confirm survival. Off that challenge from West Ham United. Porro swinging right-footed delivery into the box. Again it's sent towards the far post, nodded down by Richarlison. Decent header. Danso gets a touch on it. It wouldn't quite fall for Polina, and now Everton will try and break clear. And Jai though challenged really well by Porro, who took the corner. He gets back and it stops a potential breakaway. Yeah,
it's a brilliant recovery, isn't it, from Pedro Porro. We know how much of an athlete he is. He can cover the ground so quickly. Gets back there. Iliman Jai's no slouch, is he? He's very speedy himself, but here he goes again.
Yeah, it is well to nip the ball back past Conor Gallagher, and then Mickey van der Ven has upended his man. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall ending up in a heap on the floor, and it will be a free kick to Everton. First real opportunity for them at the start of the second half, trailing as they do Tottenham Hotspur Spurs Stadium by a goal to nil. And it's just about on the clock. Dewsbury Hall and Garner standing over this free kick. Supporters hoping they can spark something from this, as will also a West Ham United persuasion. Tarkowski lurking, waiting to make his run into the penalty area. It's angled in towards the far post, nodded down by Keane. Can't find anyone in blue, and Porro has time to lift the ball clear, and he sends it out of play for a throw, which Dewsbury Hall was keen to get on with quickly there. No one really forthcoming, and instead leave it for Mykolenko. But yeah, it's interesting to see what Everton can give in this second half. They don't have anything really to play for other than perhaps a top 10 finish Premier League places, which of course are financially lucrative from a club perspective, but as players they need to to try and dig deep and find something.
Yeah, we've seen very little from them, haven't we, Tom? I thought after about 15 minutes maybe they would come into the game. Maybe they just needed a period to sort of get through the initial onslaught from Tottenham Hotspur, but that never really came. We haven't seen that from them just yet. You know, regardless of the context of the Premier League table, can they finish in the top half? Can they finish as high as possible to, of course, get more money? You expect better from a David Moyes side, don't you? You expect a little bit of fight, but maybe that just speaks to the form that they've been in towards the end of this season. I think overall, I think it's been a decent campaign for them. As I say, you know, a potential going into the final day, top half finish, the first season in a new stadium, which of course, as Spurs will know, can cause problems. It can be difficult and take some time to adjust, but you know, the run in towards the end of the season, where they were potentially in a place where they could have had a fight for Europe, to then just being able to say maybe we can finish 10th, you know, it has tailed off.
Yeah, as it stands, they'll be finishing 13th, which is a bit underwhelming the way the majority of the season has gone. Liverpool have taken the lead, incidentally, at home against Brentford. 0 in that game. Curtis Jones the scorer, but Mo Salah on his Anfield farewell, who has got the assist, desperate for a goal. He says goodbye to the Liverpool supporters as Boonham's lost out in the middle of the park for Everton. It's to tell on the left-hand side. Interesting as well the Spurs approach in the second half, because they don't need to keep pushing forward and being positive so far at the start of the second half, and I suppose because they have that buffer, knowing that a lot of things have to turn around for them to fall into the bottom three. Maybe they can still be positive and go forward.
Yeah, and I wondered at the start of the game, Tom, when I saw the lineup, I did think, I don't know if Spurs are good enough this season to sit back and defend, especially if Everton come at them. So the fact that they have been on the front foot, I think is better. I don't think they're defensively solid enough to sit back and soak things up, especially not at 1-0.
Yeah, it's been a positive approach, but with maybe a defensive personnel out there, which is maybe a little bit best of both. It's certainly worked so far for Roberto De Zerbi and his side. But it's Everton coming forward now. Jacob Bryant to James Tarkowski, who's inside the Tottenham half. Back out to O'Brien, closing him down. A real hurry from Everton at this stage to get the ball forward. Had a decent away record this season. The Toffees had a bit of trouble at the Hill Dickinson Stadium earlier in the campaign, but the travels they've got some decent results. 26 points away from home. Only Manchester City and Arsenal, the top two, have had better than that, so that kind of underlines. Spurs have also had 26, which kind of shows how poor their home form has been. Yeah,
well, the other thing coming into today, the only other really talking point that we haven't mentioned is the battle for the worst team at home. It was between Burnley and Spurs. Whoever gets the better result today, it doesn't have the worst result. Of course, Burnley won, Wolves won is the score at Turf Moor.
Back into that game, Burnley. Spurs 2 home wins all season coming into this one in the league. One on the opening weekend against Burnley and one against Brentford back in December. So they haven't won in the league at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in 2026. If that changes today, Spurs will be playing Premier League football again next season. Currently lead Everton by a goal to nil. 54 minutes on the clock. Off-tube studio commentary. While we've been discussing the various away records, it's just been Everton possession inside the Tottenham half, but nowhere near the Spurs penalty area. And as I say that, Michael Keane now goes all the way back to Jordan Pickford on the edge of his own penalty area. The ball to Keane. Kolenko to Michael Keane once more. Everton just happy, maybe just try and build up a little bit of momentum by retaining the ball. Keane to Mikolenko. The pressure's cut ball down the left-hand side. Barry can't get there. Danzo makes sure of that. Now by Polina, good challenge on him from Ghana. And he goes out of play for a throw. And again, you know, a bit slow play, really. But you have to take into account the very warm conditions as well.
Yeah, they were just trying to draw them out, I think, Tom, weren't they? They were just asking the question of Spurs and almost willing them to press them. They did, and they did well to win the ball back, Spurs. So they rose to the occasion there. It's not quite worked out the way that Everton, I think, wanted it to. They have seen a little bit more of the ball the last few minutes, David Moyes' side, but again, it's nothing on the front foot. It's not created any chances.
You're just feeling the effects of that James Garner challenge, gingerly getting back to his feet. There's been a red card in the Sunderland-Chelsea game. Chelsea down to 10 men. Wesley Fofana, his second yellow card of the afternoon, and still City 1, Villa 1 at the Etihad, but Villa have had the ball in the back of the net. Hasn't been given that goal, but is being checked by VAR. So today, weird that one as he resumes in our game, but they're throwing down the line from Porro. bounces away from Richarlison. Now to play for a goal kick. James Garner just offering a hand of apology there to João Paulinho, who he left on the floor with that fair challenge because it was given as a throw, not a free kick. And with the little bit of the follow through, but yeah, it's a little bit flat maybe at the start of the second half. We probably weren't helped by that technical delay with the assistant referee, but just struggling to get things going as Aston Villa have. That goal's been given. They lead Manchester City 2-1.
Yeah, Watkins, the Pep Guardiola party pooper, isn't he? He's ruining the home fans' final game of the season, ruining the goodbye to Pep Guardiola. But good news for England fans, of course. Bit of confidence going into the World Cup.
Yeah, what a few days for Aston Villa as well. Themselves a European trophy. Now they're celebrating qualifying for the Champions League once again with a potential victory away at Manchester City. But still a long way to go in that game, and a long way to go in our game, which is considerably few minutes behind one of the other matches in the Premier League on this final day. We're just approaching the 57th minute. Tottenham 1, Everton 0. It's Destiny Udogie on the left-hand side for Spurs. Comes back towards Mickey van de Ven. Final day feel at the moment, not being played at a terrific pace. Not to Tell, who has been injecting pace into the game, and he releases Udogie down the left-hand side. Driving run forward from him, pulls it back to Gallagher, who's heavy with his touch, and the ball then ricochets via Tarkowski back off to Conor Gallagher. He's frustrated, but it goes behind for a goal kick. Yeah,
he's trying his best out there, Gallagher. I think he more than most is trying to turn up the energy. We've seen him both in and out of possession, running his socks off. And again, we keep going back to it. We keep banging that drum, but it is hot, and it does ask a lot of the players to run as much as they normally would in this sort of heat, this sort of humidity. They'll be burning a lot of energy. They'll be going through all the salt, and I'm sure the cramps will start very, very shortly. Again, that's a very unlike Jordan Pickford moment. He's having a bit of a weird game. He just miscued his kick there. He's gone long towards his left-hand side. It's gone straight out of play.
Yeah, a long way out of play as well for a throw. Brentford have equalised at Anfield against Liverpool, 1-1 in that game. Kevin Schade on the score sheet for Keith Andrews' side. The team still pushing to try and get European qualification. Probably need a win to certainly break into the Europa League positions, but that is an ever-changing, ever-moving piece, the battle for those final European spots. Unlike this relegation battle where Spurs, who started the day outside of the bottom three, at the moment are remaining there and extending their advantage over West Ham in virtue of the lead by a goal to nil. But Everton have a free kick on the right-hand side, and it's going to be pretty certain it's going to be lifted towards the penalty area. Spurs holding a high line in advance of the D. James Garner is standing over the free kick for Everton. 2 hands in the air from him, and he will drill this ball towards the far post. Keane is the target. He gets his head to the ball, bouncing around the Spurs penalty area, not been fully cleared as of yet. Porro doing well actually on the left-hand side, and he will eventually ball up towards halfway where Everton will look to start again. Garner, deepest lying of the outfield players for Everton. Another ball forward. Tarkowski stayed up from the original free kick, won't reach him. Danzo makes sure of that. O'Brien then just got caught on his heels and can't make a challenge because he's on a yellow card, and Spurs will break forward. Spence out to Tell on the left-hand side. O'Brien is back at him. Tell, though, has Spence overlapping. Spence trying to get there, does get there first. O'Brien, though, well, he's got there, but he's then shanked his clearance to Tell. Can't get a clean strike towards goal himself. A little bit frantically, Everton can now bring the ball clear. All of a sudden, there's pace injected into the play from both teams. Jai, though, just held up by Porro and actually won his side a free kick.
Yeah, quite a lot of players back there for Spurs anyway as Everton looked up to break. I think there was 4 defenders and then 2 of the midfielders. So, again, it just goes back to that sort of question. The Spurs going to sit back and rest on this 1-goal advantage as we approach the final half an hour now. I mean, it's almost job done. It's nearly there. Another goal, of course, would tie things up, would wrap things up for them in terms of their survival in the Premier League. Tell's gone down as well, which is not good.
Yeah, it's just coming towards the right calf. Is it Mattis Tell? He's down receiving treatment. It's Everton, though, who have 2 players stripped and ready for action. Harrison Armstrong is one of those who will be coming on. Tyreek George as well, the on-loan Chelsea player, who is also going to be entering the action imminently. David Moyes looking to freshen things up. We just ticked beyond the hour mark in the game as well, so that kind of usual time when substitutions are made. This would be a blow, though, to Spurs. Tell has been the liveliest of their attacking players, and it's Randall Kolomuani, who is the one player to drop out of the starting 11 from the midweek defeat at Chelsea. He's stripped and ready to go as well, just getting his last instructions, and you'd imagine that is going to be a like-for-like change for Tell on the far side. They won't want to take any chances.
Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you? I can't imagine they'll risk it for Matthias Tell, and as you say, double change for Everton, which I think they need. They need a bout of energy in this one. They've actually used the fewest players, 22, and made the fewest changes to their starting 11, 57, than anyone else in the Premier League. David Moyes has largely trusted his side, and using such a few amounts of players. He's working with a tight squad, but he is going to go to the well here with just less than half an hour left.
Yeah, the changes are Tyreek George for Merlin Roll, who was very much on the periphery of the game, and Harrison Armstrong has come on for there was on a yellow card, Jake O'Brien. I mean, Armstrong is a midfielder, George is a forward player, so it's attack-minded from David Moyes. Whether just goes in at right back or if there's a little bit of a change in formation, we'll take a look at that. But there has been a big goal in the other game in the relegation battle, because West Ham are in front against Leeds. So the Hammers are doing their part now. The goal has come from Tati Castellanos. They're in front, which means if Everton were to score twice without reply from Spurs, then it'll be Spurs going down. Goals come from a corner. Castellanos heading home, Bowen delivery. So West Ham doing all they can do. Spurs are doing what they need to do at the moment, but that will send nerves around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Yeah,
I think West Ham fans will be saying, Everton, it's up to you. Look, we're doing our part. We're doing the business. But as I say, Spurs holding on, and Everton, again, 63 minutes in now, that they've still not shown anything to suggest that they're going to equalise.
But they have a corner. They do have threats, aerial threats in the sense of Keane and Tarkowski aimed in towards Michael Keane. The delivery well dealt with by the Spurs goal scorer, João Palhinha, flicking the ball out for a throw-in on the far side. But yeah, the anxiety levels will lift at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Remember, the West Ham game is the best part of 6 minutes ahead of this one. So, I mean, West Ham win that game, and there's the best part of 7-8 minutes still to go in this when you incorporate stoppage time, and that, if it is still tight, would make it a very anxious finish, as Garner is going to launch a long throw into the box. It's a decent effort from him. Richarlison heads clear. Not really that James Garner had a long throw in his locker, but again, a lot of players do these days. Spurs looking to come clear. Bentancur hit the ball down the channel. Be chased down by Matis Tell, who's come back onto the field. That change from Spurs hasn't been made. Tell okay to continue for the time being. Kolomuani still waiting to come on. The ball goes out for a throw to Everton on the halfway line. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the psychology for Spurs now. Yeah,
I think there was always going to be a goal in that game at London Stadium, wasn't there? There's always going to be a talking point. I think whether it was West Ham have scored and Spurs need to be careful, or whether it was Leeds have gone in front and look, we've pretty much done our job. But yeah, if this was 0-0, or if this was 1-1, there'd be a little bit more sort of excitement and anticipation. But as I say, at the minute, Spurs are doing a really professional job, which, I mean, no disrespect here, it's been very much unlike them this season.
It certainly has, particularly at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But, they've handled the occasion well so far. It's the first, that West Ham goal, the first real slight bit of adversity they faced, so they're going to handle that. But to just focus on the task in hand, and Everton still yet to have a shot on target in this game. Just 7 touches in the Spurs box, kind of underlines the lack of attacking quality that they've been able to show in the game so far. Maybe at right back now with Armstrong in the midfield with Eric Boonham. Tyreek George is over on this left-hand side. He's that way. Jai's gone out to the right where Merlin Roll was earlier on. But Spurs in possession. Ball to Tell. Okay. To drive at James Garner. He just gets his arm across Tell and does a decent job to hold him off, then looking for the decision of the free kick. And I think he might have got it there. James Garner, who might just be a little bit more mobile than Jake O'Brien to deal with the pace threat from Tell.
Yeah, forced into a bit of breakdancing there as well, wasn't he, James Garner, under the challenge. But you're absolutely right. I mean, to be fair, in this second half, we hadn't really seen that matchup too much, Matthias Tell versus Jake O'Brien. But in the first half, particularly in the first half an hour, he had a torrid time of it, didn't he, Jake O'Brien, and Matthias Tell was running him ragged. So much, in fact, that you wonder why they didn't just keep going to him. He almost sort of petered out into to the end of that first half and at the start of this second.
Yeah, not had the same kind of impact certainly since the restart. Mastistel. Looks like he's shaken off that knock that he picked up a few minutes ago. Keen possession for Everton. Nice drop of the shoulder from Armstrong. First real involvement for him. Jai finds Garner to the feet of Tierno Barry. Go backwards again, Everton. They are seeing more of the ball though as this second half wears on. Mikolenko. The line to Tyreek George, who has got pace. This is Dewsbury Hall, who's attempted first time cross, hits Danzo and goes behind for a corner, so Everton can get the big boys forward from the back once more. And again, it's like feeling in the gut for Spurs supporters.
Yeah, what can they do now then? Everton from a set piece, haven't had too many of them, and the deliveries have quite been as good as you'd expect when they have had them, but up come Tarkowski and Keane, and it could be a real threat. I mean, a goal here potentially changes everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Then we are in a one-goal situation. Everton score and it stays how it is at the London Stadium. That would be enough. But they need to get the first one. Everton. Corner comes into the box from Garner. Kingsley comes out, doesn't really get there. It hits Keane, comes out to Armstrong on the right-hand side, being pursued by Kevin Danzo. Drops it back to Mikolenko, back to Armstrong. Time for the cross, but it hits the first man, Spence, who did a decent job and goes out of play for a throw. Yeah,
could have made more of that, I think, Everton, because Harrison Armstrong, he's not really been tracked by Spence over on that right-hand side. He could have turned and whipped it in. And then even when he plays it to Mikolenko, once he gets it back, again, there's a miscommunication between the two Spurs defenders and neither of them go across. So just wasted a little bit of time there.
Yeah, Spurs change. It's not going to be Colin Milani. It's Pat Matasar, I think, getting ready. There's a long throw into the box. Keane can't quite flick it on, but Everton can try and keep the pressure on. Mikolenko lifts it back into the area, headed away by Bentancur. Garner with an important toe on the ball to stop Richarlison breaking forward. Dewsbury Hall now for Everton. To Harrison Armstrong, out to James Garner. Difficult for him to control there, but he does well. Slightly disappointed he didn't make it into the England World Cup squad when that was announced on Friday. Featuring this country for the first time over the March international break. Danzo now for Spurs, back towards Kinski. Now he's in this second half, he's showing that it's been predominantly played inside the Spurs defensive third, so momentum has swung slightly, as you would expect with Everton chasing the game. We have gone beyond the midway point in this second half as well. So Spurs, as it stands, will be surviving in the Premier League. They lead Everton by a goal to nil. Now we'll take you through to the full-time whistle.
Cheers, Tom. Yep, 69 minutes on the clock. Everton in possession, but they trail by a goal to nil. West Ham are in front at home against Leeds United. They're doing their part. Before that goal went in the London Stadium, Spurs were the only side inside the current bottom 9 that were winning. West Ham have now joined them in that respect. Forward come Everton, though, with Iliman Ndiaye. It's unlike him to be as negative as he has there. He's gone backwards, then gets the ball. He's going to have a little bit of a run at Pedro Porro. Can't beat the Spanish international, though. It's stolen away by Porro. Plays it infield to Gallagher, who's got acres and loads of time as well to do what he wants with the ball. Gets a 1-2 from Bentancur. And then Paulinho joins in as he finds the South American, who gets it back again from the Portuguese. Now here's Gallagher just before halfway. Out towards the right-hand side for Udogie, who just popped up on this right for the time being. And he's going to shift his way back across as it's with Kinski inside the area. Danso on the corner of the box on the right-hand side, dinks it forward towards halfway, flicked on by Porro, who's now swapped with Udogie. Richarlison tries to make something work, and he's got the better of Tarkowski for the time being. Here's Matthias Tell having a run at the back four, but it's good defending from a combination of Tim Eric Burnham and James Garner. The latter now strides away and beats the challenger Bentancur. He's got Barry in support, but that's about it. It goes down the line to Barry, who's got Danso to beat. Good first touch, then drops the shoulder. And Everton have got their tails up here with Iliman Ndiaye. They've got their supporters on their right-hand side, almost playing towards them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Here's Ndiaye on the right once again. They've just slowed things down there, Everton, which has really been their Horcrux so far in this one, 20 minutes to go. Here's Barry, though, on the edge of the area. 3 to beat around him. Should have laid it off, didn't. Loses possession and then commits the foul. Poor decision making.
Yeah, I feel a little bit sorry for him. It's kind of fizzed into him by Dewsbury Hall, and he wants to be positive, but he hasn't really got any options. There's not been enough from Everton in the final third today. We've seen glimpses from Njai, but if he's not been able to get involved, Spurs have been doubling up on him quite a lot. Just wondering where the other creative spark's going to come from. Barry's been marked out the game. Dewsbury Hall has been quiet. Real didn't really offer very much when he was on. So yeah, it's just lacking in the final third. Everton really at the moment. Spurs defending well, but defending comfortably.
Double change is about to happen for Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's the two players we thought were coming on. It's Randall Kolomowani and Pape Mate Sarr. You got to wonder how Randall Kolomowani must be feeling. Of course, he's gone from winning the Champions League last season with Paris Saint-Germain. He's surplus to requirements in that squad. He's been loaned out to Tottenham Hotspur, who, of course, were in the Champions League. And I don't believe that he made the squad either, Randall Kolomowani, for France for the World Cup. So he's got something to prove, but you have to question his ambitions in this game. Coming off the bench, trying to avoid relegation. It would have been the furthest thing from his mind, I'm sure, when he made the move from PSG to Tottenham Hotspur. But double change nonetheless. Then on comes Sarr. On comes Randall Kolomowani. 72 minutes on the clock. Spurs 1, Everton 0. Still waiting confirmation of the two that have gone off, though, I believe.
Yeah, well, just on that drinks break, and I think kind of waiting for that to happen. Why it can't just happen now whilst they're having the drinks? We have to wait for everyone to get back into position and then make the changes. Seems a little bit strange, but yeah, it's probably a good time for Spurs to get that drinks break, because you can't quite say that Everton were building up some momentum, but they've had more of the ball, and the more likely of the two sides, if we're going to see a goal in this second half, you would think, because there's been very little attacking play all round. But yeah, Spurs get the break, get some drinks on, and now they can make this double change.
Yeah, Matthias Tell is going to be brought off. He seemingly shrugged off whatever ailment was bothering him. Richarlison's the other that's gone off. I mean, speaking of players who haven't made their World Cup squad, the 11 goals he scored and the 4 assists in the Premier League, you'd have thought would have been enough to get him on the plane for Brazil, but he hasn't made it. He's, of course, one of a few notable exclusions from that squad. Off goes Tell. On comes Sarr, who is, of course, nursing a little bit of an injury. He's got some rather large padding, hasn't he, across his left arm. If he was a UFC fighter, it'd be a bit of a target, wouldn't it, for the opposition man? He'd know where he needs to hit, but luckily we're not that much of a contact sport. 73.5 minutes gone. Spurs 1, Everton 0. And that might just slow the game down a little bit. Again, Tom, potentially playing into Spurs' hands.
Yeah, it's better been a jogging pace, isn't it, in the second half, really. But yeah, slowed down even more. Spurs, you keep saying they're managing the game pretty well, but you just wonder what would happen, or what will happen, even if Everton do get a goal, because you just imagine the panic and anxiety that would go around the stadium.
Yeah, it's goal difference that would keep them up if Everton were to score, and of course the goal difference so vast between them and West Ham that it would have never been made up today. It would have been a miracle, wouldn't it? Spurs 1, Everton 0, though, into almost the final 15 minutes of this one. You're listening to Off-Tube Independent Studio-based commentary. Well, West Ham were doing their job, and they continue to do so. It looks like they're leading by 2-0 at home against Leeds at the London Stadium. I'm sure news of that goal will reach the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but it won't matter at the moment, as Pedro Porro prepares to take this corner kick from the right-hand side. It will be an away swinger, left arm in the air, right boot at the ball. He swipes through it towards the back post, over everyone's heads. Randall Kolomowani touches it down for Sarr, the two substitutes combining. Here's Kolomowani once again, hits one over the bar. A speculative effort from the man just off the bench, who clearly wants to make an impact.
Yeah, it's worth taking it on, isn't it, I suppose, in that kind of situation. But yeah, West Ham, we've got the breathing room in their game. Now Jarrod Bowen, the scorer, players who missed out on World Cup squads, he's another of those. Really good finish with his right foot. And yeah, so you've got to think now from that situation, West Ham are going to win that game against Leeds with 10 minutes plus stoppage time left to play in that one. And then yeah, they'll be hoping and praying that their former manager David Moyes can do them a favour in this game. In truth, at the moment, that does not look like happening.
Yeah, elsewhere, by the way, Fulham have doubled their lead at home against Newcastle. Tom Kearney has scored to make it 2. just having a quick look at the table, I don't believe that they can have a top half finish unless there's a monumental goal swing with their game, and the game involving Sunderland and Chelsea. So it might just be an 11th place finish for Fulham, unless Newcastle, of course, can turn that one around. Everton too can put a thorn in their side in that sense, but they would need 2 goals, and of course that wouldn't be the biggest storyline, would it, if Everton were to turn things around at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Less than a quarter of an hour remaining in this Premier League season. It's Tottenham 1, Everton 0. And Jordan Pickford has the ball in his hands after a loose ball was headed back to him. He lofts it forward towards the left-hand side, looking for the newly introduced Tyreek George. But he can't get on the end of it. It goes over his head and out of play for a throw-in. David Moyes shown on our screens now off Tube Independent studio-based commentary. Flicked around the corner there was Ronald Colomwani. It's picked off though by Eric Boonham. Now here's George. Picked his pocket there was Paulinho. Now was Gallagher. Holds it back to Spence. Spence moves it infield to Bentancur. Just shows too much of it to Barry, and he's lost out as well. But he's won it back brilliantly, the South American. And Everton again back to a walking pace, Tom.
Yeah, I just wondering if there's a slight injury with Beto or something, because he's still on the bench, and you think he's a player that could come on. Barry's not done very much in the final third. Beto, he's a bit hot and cold, isn't he? But he can score on his day. He's capable of doing slightly unpredictable. So maybe unless he is carrying something, could be a player to come on.
Mo Salah's gone off, by the way, in the game between Liverpool and Brentford. It's 1-1 in that one. But I'm sure he's got a rousing round of applause for his final game for Liverpool. Here come the team from the other side of the city. It's Tyreek George. Cuts back in field for Everton. Pokes it through just about to Barry. Barry with a couple of touches to avoid the challenge of Danso, but he's put himself right in the corner. Tries a very similar move to get past Spence. Doesn't work this time though. And it's out of play for a throw-in. This near side. 78 minutes on the clock. Spurs 1, Everton 0. And it will be a Spurs ball right in the corner with Pedro Porro. With the Spurs fans in full voice behind him. He prepares this one. Down the line it goes. In towards Spence, who loses out to Mikalenko. Now George to Eric Boonham. Dewsbury Hall does well to bring that under control. Back to Eric Boonham. In his back was Spence. No foul, says the referee, as Spurs win back possession. Here's Porro from Gallagher. And away from danger over halfway. I think if there was ever any quality in the game, Tom, it's certainly dissipated as we approach the final 10 minutes. We've not really seen too much for the home fans, the away fans, or the neutral to shout about.
No, it's a pretty awful game in this second half, isn't it? But because of the jeopardy of what's at stake from the Spurs perspective, it's still very intriguing. And you know, it's up to Everton, isn't it, to do something more. Spurs are happy with this scoreline. This result is perfect for them. Everton need to find something, dig deep, and try and offer a little bit more. Yeah,
Spurs, as I said earlier, with the second worst home record coming into the final day. Only Burnley were they better than, and that was only on goal difference. They're winless in their last 10 home league games, losing 6 of them. It's their second longest run of winless games since 1994. That includes failing to win in the previous 7 versus bottom half opposition, of course, which Everton are. Well, if they need an extra boost, Spurs, not that they do in terms of the scoreline, they're going to get one imminently, with James Maddison preparing to come on and make his 3rd consecutive appearance as his return from injury continues. But here comes Sarr for Tottenham Hotspur to Colomwani on the right. Jed Spence on the underlap, takes a touch, then just wastes a little bit of time. He finds Sarr though on the byline, who beats one challenge into the area. Sarr beats another, goes down, all eyes towards the referee. He's going to book Sarr for diving. No foul according to Michael Oliver, and it was a dive, a jump from Sarr according to the official.
Well, first viewing, I absolutely agree with the referee, Michael Oliver. It's such an exaggerated, desperate fall from Pat Matta's side. He does really well, drives into the penalty area from the right-hand side. Just won't quite open up for him to have a shot, and there is a dangled leg from Tim Boonham, but Sarr just throws himself to the floor, and there isn't any contact made whatsoever. Referee well positioned. It was the right call.
Yeah, he's very much got that one right, hasn't he, Michael Oliver? Yellow card for the substitute Pape Sarr, the Senegalese international. There's going to be a couple of changes for Spurs. I mentioned James Maddison was preparing to come on, so is Archie Gray. Maddison is the first to enter the field of play. It will be Conor Gallagher whom he will replace. Jed Spencer's also just walked over. I wonder if he knows he's coming off potentially. But off goes Gallagher. And on comes Maddison. Two players who a couple of years ago would have been hoping that they would be on the playing for the World Cup, but hasn't quite worked out for various reasons. Bentancur is actually the other that's going to be replaced. So that is a change which will see Archie Gray come into midfield. So Maddison and Gray on, Gallagher and Bentancur off.
Yeah, it's just fresh legs, isn't it, in the middle of the park. Gray will do the Bentancur role. Maddison is a bit more attack-minded than Conor Gallagher, but it's more about getting him some minutes of game time at the end of what has been a really frustrating season for him on a personal level as well.
Archie Gray coming on as well. So double change for Spurs. 82 minutes on the clock. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Everton 0. You're listening to Off Tube Independent Studio-based commentary. I haven't had a goal in a while actually in the Premier League games. We're quickly approaching full time in a few of them. Sunderland, Chelsea's into the closing stages. And there's plenty of games which are hitting the 89th or 90th minute as well. Ball forward to Dewsbury Hall for Everton, headed away by Danso. Touch there from Palhinha finds Maddison, his first touch off the bench. Bit of fortune there as it bounces off. Harrison Armstrong to find a teammate in Udogie. Now here's Gray, Maddison, Gray, and Udogie once more. And Njai puts on a half-hearted press as Udogie goes down the line. Heavy touch though, and Everton will win it back. Pickford inside the area. Plays it long, over halfway. With West Ham winning, Tom, I think it was just a case of what Everton side will we get this afternoon. Would there be any hope for West Ham? I mean, there's still time. But from what we've seen so far, West Ham might feel a little bit frustrated with Everton for maybe being potentially, quote, on the beach.
Yeah, it's been a really flat performance, hasn't it, from an Everton perspective. Yeah, they've been reasonably defensively disciplined and competitive in that sense. It's just really that urgency, that desire to really dig in. I mean, Spurs have been more than happy to slow things down, haven't they, at the end in this second half? And it feels like Everton have been happy themselves to do that. They're going to make a triple change now, the Toffees, and still time for a West Ham perspective for them to get the 2 goals they need to turn things around and send Spurs down instead of the hammers, but time is running out.
Yeah, Beto is coming on. Barry's going to go off. And there's going to be a change in midfield as well, with Tim Irigbounam being replaced. We're also going to see the introduction of Seamus Coleman. He's going to get his swan song. As I understand it, he is staying on at the Hill Dickinson Stadium as a coach, but he comes on. Dewsbury Hall goes off, and it's Carlos Alcaraz who comes on for him. So 3 changes: Barry, Dewsbury Hall, Irigbounam off, Beto, Alcaraz and Coleman on. It's at least good for Seamus Coleman to get that goodbye. I'm sure he would have had one at the Hill Dickinson as well last week, but you know, a player that's been so consistent over the years for Everton.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, he'll come on and go to right back. Garner will move back into midfield, and yeah, it's a final opportunity for him to minutes into his legs in an Everton shirt. And the other 2 changes, you could argue maybe could and should have come a little bit earlier in that regard. I mentioned Beto a few minutes ago, but Alcaraz, another attack-minded player who is capable of changing a game.
Ball down the left-hand side for George, loses out. Colin Moani takes over. Referee though has seen a foul, so he's blown his whistle. Elsewhere, there has been a couple of goals. One of them's just gone to VAR, though. Manchester City had the ball in the back of the net against Aston Villa. Goal disallowed. Phil Foden it was, who thought he'd made it to 2-2. Offside, though, in that one. Crystal Palace have half the deficit at home against Arsenal. Jean-Philippe Mateta has scored potentially his final league goal for Crystal Palace. We'll wait and see what unfolds over the summer, but it's 2-1 to Arsenal away from home in that one. It's Spurs 1, Everton 0 in this one. 85 minutes on the clock, so 5 minutes remaining in this Premier League season. And Everton, from a West Ham perspective, have still got it all to do. But Tottenham Hotspur are hanging on in there in terms of their Premier League status. Here is the Everton man in Njai, forward and centrally into Carlos Alcaraz. and Jai again. And now here's Garner. Garner opens up for Mikolenko. Wow, quick fire double actually. Crystal Palace have got a second at home against Arsenal. Bring you the goal scorer in that one in just a second. Here's Alcaraz though from distance, forward round the corner. Could be a chance here for Everton. Across the face of goal, it's cleared away and eventually picked up by Kinski. The best moment from an Everton perspective so far. We're 86 minutes in. It was Tyreek George down the left-hand side. Went for a pass where maybe he could have gone for a shot.
Yeah, it's a split second too late to the ball, isn't he? Maybe to curve it into the far corner. Credit to Kinski. He comes out quickly and narrows that angle. Because of that, he feels he's just got to try and knock it back into an area where he hopes a player in blue is waiting, but there wasn't one there and Spurs were able to clear.
Jeremy Pino, by the way, with the goal for Crystal Palace. A quick fire double to make it level pegging in that one. That has gone to VAR though, so we'll just wait and see. A push and a shove here from a few players from either side. Kolomwani involved, Madison involved, as is Alcaraz and Tarkowski. Kolomwani continuing it on. Clearly not listening to Michael Oliver's instructions to give it a rest, so he's going to be booked. 86.5 minutes have been played. We're into the final 3 minutes. Cameron's just panned to João Palhinha. It's his goal that separates the two sides at the moment. It's his goal that means that Spurs will be playing Premier League football once again next season. And it is him actually that's been booked for whatever role he played in that coming together. So João Palhinha in the book. Here's Tyreek George, left hand side, ball into the area, blocked by Spence, and out for a corner.
Yeah, Everton knocking on the door slightly, offering a little bit more now. George is starting to get more involved on the left hand side. 3 minutes plus will be a meaty amount of stoppage time still, so still hope there from an Everton and a West Ham of course perspective. Well,
Everton haven't had a good record away at Tottenham, but they could draw level here. Ball into the area towards Garner, away from Kolomwani. It's going to be touched down by Harrison Armstrong, out towards the right hand side for Alcaraz. He brings it infield now to Mikolenko. It's on his wrong foot though. He has to sweep it awkwardly towards the left-hand side. Ball into the area by Garner, away this time from Palhinha. Mikolenko underneath it, under pressure from Pedro Porro's the furthest forward. Here's Coleman, his first touch off the bench in his final Everton game. They go backwards towards the goalkeeper. Danso's down inside the area. Everton won just one of their previous 16 away games against Spurs, losing the previous 4 by an aggregate scoreline of 13-1. Make that 14-1 at the minute. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Everton 0. 2 minutes remaining in what has been a very disastrous season. A very depressing season for Tottenham Hotspur fans, but they might have something to shout about, albeit the context of that enjoyment will be Premier League survival and nothing more. It's really nail-biting time now, isn't it?
It certainly is, and you know, Spurs supporters still getting behind their team and keeping things positive as Tarkowski flicks the ball on and Beto intensely spectacular. What's the referee given there though? He said, "Well, that yellow card." I'm not sure if that was Tarkowski with the challenge. Danso's ended up on the floor and it looks like he's got a right elbow in the eye or something like that. It's already kind of puffing up there. The eye of Kevin Danso. Tarkowski pleads his case, but I can't give it.
Yeah, it's immediately swollen up, hasn't it? A flailing arm there from James Tarkowski on Kevin Danso. Leeds, by the way, are getting absolutely battered at London Stadium. It's West Ham 3, Leeds 0. I mean, they've done more than they needed to of West Ham United. Callum Wilson's got the third after Castellanos and Jared Bowen got the first and second respectively, but Tottenham Hotspur, they're doing their part as well, and they are remaining a Premier League team as it stands. We've got less than a minute of normal time. It's Spurs 1, Everton 0. We're just waiting for the game to get back underway. That second for Crystal Palace, by the way, is ruled out by VAR, so Jeremy Pino's second, Crystal Palace second via Jeremy Pino hasn't counted. There's going to be a late change here for Roberto De Zerbi. Dragosun is coming on for Udogi, and that is, of course, for a little bit of defensive solidity from set pieces more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Expect a bit of an aerial bombardment from Everton in the closing exchanges, and Dragosun will be an extra aerial threat to deal with that. The West Ham game's finished, actually. West Ham 3, Leeds 0. So West Ham have done all they can do. Our game ticking into stoppage time now, so let's see how much has been added on by the referee. But as you say, West Ham have done all they can. West Ham are actually finishing this season with more points than Spurs got last season, which kind of says how
things have gone in the Premier League. But yeah, 9 points is not going to be good enough as it stands for West Ham.
Yeah, well, as it stands, it'll be another 17th place finish for Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, after doing it last year as well, it's the first time they've finished in consecutive seasons this low since 1915, over 100 years, as they're coming together on the pitch. But just off the pitch, the fourth officials indicated a minimum of 9 minutes added on at the end of the game. That game at London Stadium is full time, as is the one at the Amex, where two sides have both won 3-0. Manchester United have won 3-0 away against Brighton, and West Ham have won 3-0 at home against Leeds. Coming together here might just extend that 9 minutes, Tom, because it looks like a fairly nasty clash of heads.
Yeah, I think we're going to go beyond the 100-minute mark, aren't we, in this game, just to prolong some of the agony for Spurs. But yeah, head injuries are taking time with that. But it's been very stop-start for most of the second half, particularly in the last 10-15 minutes or so, which again Spurs won't mind because it's getting them over the line, albeit we're creaking there slowly.
Yeah, I think we keep talking about, and of course everyone keeps talking about, they're surviving Tottenham, though, that they might survive before the game rather, but I think they can count themselves lucky with how poor they've been. I mean, you just read it out there, didn't you? 41 points versus West Ham's 39. It's 2 points. It's the one game, isn't it? The context, the difference between them being in the Premier League next season and being in the Championship next season. I think if either one of them would have gone down, the neutral would say, well, it's only fair. I think they were both terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. In their own way, West Ham feel their points on the table. They've left as well. That Arsenal game, the controversial goal that was ruled out a few weeks ago. 3-0 Brentford as well the week before that, but a couple of goals disallowed in the woodwork a few times. So, the West Ham will feel there's been fine margins in this. And for Spurs, I think it was probably said, almost certainly was said last season, finish 17th. It's not going to get any worse than that. We need to much improve the following season. This season, that hasn't been the case, and really there has to be a big change at Spurs over the summer.
Yeah, of course, every team has injuries, but Spurs' injury record over the last 2 or 3 years has been absolutely terrible, hasn't it? I mean, they're constantly missing star players, key players. You can't use that excuse for too long as the ball goes into the air. As a headed flick towards goal there by Michael Keane, who was up there. The game restarted rather quickly and rather unexpectedly. It's probably the best Everton have been all game.
Yeah, it's a decent header from Keane. He had a lot of work to do from the Ghana cross, and was looping, just not dipping from an Everton perspective quite quickly enough as it lands on the roof of Kinski's net. The goalkeeper had it covered, was watching it over the top there. A decent header for Michael Keane. It's the pictures we're watching, they were kind of panting to Pat Matasar on the sideline. The Spurs player had been receiving treatment, then all of a sudden Everton quick restart and a decent opportunity. Yeah,
the game restarted about 93 minutes. We had 9 added on, so that to me would suggest that we're going to play until maybe 102, something like that. We're probably going to play the full 9 minutes after the 93rd minute. It's Tottenham 1, Everton 0. We're one of just a handful of games still playing. There's plenty that have gone to double digits in terms of stoppage time, but their full times are now racking up. Arsenal have won away at Selhurst Park, a 2-1 win against Crystal Palace. Fulham have won their final home game against Newcastle by 2-0. It's 1-1 between Liverpool and Brentford. That's full time as well. As it stands currently, Sunderland will be playing in Europe next season, as will Bournemouth, those two occupying the current Europa League positions. The current Conference League spot is currently Brighton, despite their defeat this afternoon. Here come Everton, although Pedro Porro again has defended so well to win the ball back. His clearance has been deflected, but then luckily for Spurs it has been punted forward. Colin Moani will chase the loose ball. Pickford's coming off his line. There's going to be a coming together here. Jordan Pickford wins the header and then has to retreat backwards to collect it again. It's been a interesting performance from the England international. We spoke about Ollie Watkins taking some confidence into the World Cup. I don't think you think the same about Jordan Pickford, but here come Everton towards Beto, cleared away though by Danso. Up and over halfway and away from safety. 95 minutes on the clock. Spurs 1, Everton 0. I mean, they're throwing bodies forward here, Tom, but again, they haven't even had a shot on target.
No, they haven't. They've not looked like scoring in all truth. And we were saying that Michael Keane header is the best they've had, and that's very much a minor opportunity. But they're trying now, finally, to up the intensity at least.
If they get a goal now, you would expect the nerves to be absolutely shot for Tottenham Hotspurs. Njai plays it back to Coleman, back to Njai, right hand side, he's got Spence to beat. Madison comes across, Coleman into the air, it's a dangerous one towards goal from Alcaraz. He doesn't quite catch it as he wanted. The challenge in there, I think, from Danso, done enough just to put him off.
Yeah, he did. It's a decent ball in from Seamus Coleman. They're working nicely down the right hand side, Everton, and Alcaraz just stretching. He said a little bit of a nudge as he's jumping in the air. Jorgensen just does enough to almost push Alcaraz under the flight of the ball, but half opportunity, a decent opportunity, if you like, for Everton, certainly based on what they've been able to create so far this afternoon.
Elsewhere, full times at the City Ground, Nottingham Forest 1, Bournemouth 1, and Sunderland 2. Chelsea 1 is full time as well. So the only two games playing are our game, and then the battle at the bottom of the table to see who isn't the worst between Burnley and Wolves. That's currently 1-1, which means Wolves would remain at the foot of the table as Alcaraz commits a foul on the goal scorer Paulinho. It's his goal that separates the two sides. We keep saying that Everton haven't looked like scoring. In truth, in this second half, maybe since the 55th minute or so, Tom, Spurs haven't really looked like getting a second.
No, they've been happy just to try and run down the clock. It's been a professional, measured performance from Spurs in a lot of ways, which we won't have said on too many occasions this season, that they've managed the scenario well. I mean, all the play really in the last 10 minutes has been inside the Tottenham defensive third, but they've never looked like scoring. So you have to praise them in that regard. It's not going to be pretty, is it? But the most important thing for them is they get over the line. 97
minutes on the clock. 9 were added on, but we didn't play the first 3 of the 9 added on, so we've potentially still got 5 minutes or so remaining as Kinski takes the free kick up towards the final third, headed away by Keane. Head tennis ensues as Alcaraz is underneath it, then Keane once again out towards the left hand side off a Spurs man last, and out for an Everton throw inside their own half. Garner takes it to Alcaraz. He goes awkwardly back towards Pickford, who's going to have to fire a bouncing ball, which he does really well with actually on the half volley up towards the final third. Danso though heads it away. Madison commits a foul on Alcaraz. That'll be a free kick to Everton. Armstrong recovers the bouncing ball, drops it in the centre circle for Jordan Pickford to take. Playing for pride more than anything else here, Everton, but playing their part in a last day survival for Tottenham Hotspur, albeit it's not the part that they would have wanted. The villain, as West Ham are concerned, as Pickford goes to the feet of Armstrong. He lofts it into the area, looking for Keane. Flicked away though by Porro. It's going to drop from Mikolenko on the edge. About 30 yards from goal, finds Tyreek George on the left-hand side. He's going to outrun at his man. Cuts in field, right-footed shot on goal. What a save! What a save from Anton Kinski. Tyreek George with the best moment of the game in an Everton shirt. It's their first shot on target, and what a shot it was. Kinski staying alive right until the last minute.
Yeah, best we've seen from Everton. Tyreek George drops a shoulder, cuts in, really good hit. Kinski slightly onside as well. A brilliant save to his left-hand side. He had that fantastic save, didn't he, against Leeds a couple of weeks ago, right at the end of that game, to salvage a point for Spurs, and that's an equally important one, really, as that would have set up a really nervous finish.
Corner taken, it's swung away, but then back into the area by Coleman towards the back stick, finds George on the byline left-hand side. Spence comes across. The Chelsea loanee plays it towards the edge for Alcaraz. Still plenty up inside the area, but they don't swing it into the box. Mikolenko then shifts it to the right. Now here's Garner, then he will dink one into the area, looking for Tarkowski, who wins the header, but it's over the bar. It's out for a goal kick. 99 minutes have been played. It's Spurs 1, Everton 0. It's full time between Burnley and Wolves. These are the final moments of the Premier League campaign. And I think De Zerbi's just hearing from the fourth official, Bobby Madley, that yes, we've hit 99, but we didn't play the first 3 minutes, so we're going to have some extra time in extra time.
Yeah, you know, that 3-minute delay, that's where we're coming on. It's kind of what Bobby Madley's saying there to De Zerbi, who, to be fair, understandably, is getting caught up in the emotion. He's celebrating every time the ball goes out of play for a goal kick, as are the majority of supporters in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. West Ham
have won, of course, at home against Leeds, but at the moment they are going down to the Championship. Randall Kolomoani in possession for Spurs, goes backwards over halfway in towards his own territory. Beto will give chase, but Kinski fires long. His save in added time stopped at least an equaliser for Everton. It may have just been that in an alternate universe, but potentially could have been worse, as Coleman goes a long way around to get away from Maddison, just about finds Beto's feet. He drops it back towards halfway for Armstrong. Look at the energy there from Van der Ven chasing the ball far out of position. It has done its job so far as Mikalenko has it. We've played 101 minutes now as Ghana has it. Down the corner to Alcaraz. Even if they score here, Everton, they need another for Spurs to go down. It's pretty much job done, but we still play at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And Jai into the area. It's a dangerous ball. Flicked away by Archie Gray in the end and out for a corner.
Yeah, Michael Keane playing as centre forward now for Everton. It was a good ball angled in from Jai towards him, but well defended from a Spurs point of view. They are just about there. Everton take the corner short.
Into the area from Alcaraz. It flicked again up rather than out by Tottenham Hotspur. Then Dragerson underneath it. Alcaraz again. Thought about swinging a ball in. Finds Garner instead. He finds the edge of the area for Harrison Armstrong. Round the corner to Njai. Far side. Full time whistle. Spurs survive. It's full time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. João Palhinha's goal is the difference, and it is the goal that keeps Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League. They will play Premier League football next season. West Ham United are relegated, championship bound for them. It's full time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Tottenham Hotspur 1, Everton 0. Thanks for joining us.
Our next football commentary match is getting ever nearer, so why not take the opportunity of having a bet on the match? Whether you're interested in betting on the match result, the first player to score, the last scorer, correct score, double result, total goals market, handicap betting, or any other of our exciting market, it's fun to be involved. Don't forget, when the match kicks off, you can sit back and enjoy superb independent studio commentary while also enjoying our in-play betting opportunities. Good luck. Our next football commentary match is getting ever nearer, so why not take the opportunity of having a bet on the match? Whether you're interested in betting on the match result, the first player to score, the last scorer, correct score, double result, total goals market, handicap betting, or any other of our exciting market, it's fun to be involved. Don't forget, when the match kicks off, you can sit back and enjoy superb independent studio commentary while also enjoying our in-play betting opportunities. Good luck.